Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 397. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, alongside Johnny V.
You're not looking too sunburnt or anything, which is kind of nice. You were in Florida, you were in Texas, now you're back here in the great gloomy state of Wisconsin, and you're not looking too much more red than you normally do.
I do have a legitimate tan going on here, where very white on the arms, or should I say the shoulders, and golden brown on some other parts. Welcome, everyone. We're here, podcast 397. And tonight, well, let me just throw this out there right away, because I know of some footage that's here and there and all around. If you do not want to hear or have us discuss at great length this weekend's Throwdown the Mountain, the results of it or anything of that nature, I understand it's already Tuesday. You probably know things, but if somehow you're holding off, that's fine. I encourage you to then go ahead and shut things down right now, because tonight we're going to be, of course, talking about Throwdown the Mountain. That was the last place I just visited. In fact, just returned there from last night. We're also going to be welcoming in some champions and some superstars of that event. So that's what I want to tell you right now, if that's something you're holding off on. If not, welcome. We're going to get into it, and we're going to start with trivia.
Trivia?
Yeah. In some ways, I call it a trivia question or just an outright statement. Today, actually a very, very significant day in the disc golf community, in the disc golf world. Do you have any idea why, Johnny?
April 5th. Is this Ken Climo's birthday?
Ooh, good guess. That was a couple days ago.
Okay, I knew it was around here.
Late March, yeah, shortly after your birthday.
Yes.
But no, Ken Climo.
He has a son who shares a birthday with me, actually, as well.
Yes.
So April 5th.
I want to say his is the 28th, if I'm just making up numbers.
Is this Steady Ed's birthday?
No, not. Let me rephrase that. I'm not positive. I do not believe that it is Steady Ed's. I do not know that for a fact it's not, but that is not certainly my reference point.
Then no, I'm lost, Terry. I do not know.
I'd be curious to know if anyone out on our board, especially some of our diehard hardcore smashies, have any idea. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. Episode 397 that we're hosting tonight, here on the 5th of April, 2022, marks 8 years to the day that Smashbox TV was first live. Not our podcast. That was in November of that year.
Correct.
Our very first ever live broadcast.
This is the anniversary of Silmar.
This is the anniversary of the Silmar Open, a PDGA C tier, in which we attempted to cover 3 rounds, because what C tiers aren't 3 rounds in one day. So right there, that should have been a clue that we were setting ourselves up for a challenge and a little bit of a failure. But today, this very day, marks exactly 8 years. And in fact, if we rewind 8 years to this minute, I believe I was sitting at a restaurant with Steve and Bamba Rico and the rest of the family as I was out in California. And after the long day had concluded and our champions were crowned and all that other stuff, we went out and celebrated the event mainly, but also the fact that our first day of ever live broadcasting in the sport of disc golf was in the books.
And if I remember correctly, we got an ace on video.
We did.
And
for 1 million bonus points, does anybody remember whom?
I think we literally just had this question like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago.
The question is, who's paying attention?
You're not you're not wrong.
That may not matter.
You're not wrong. Did our cameraman was AJ Risley? Is that correct?
He was the primary cameraman. Yep.
And were we able to actually finish the round, or did we run out of batteries on that round?
No, there was...
and there was cell signal issues at Silmar in general.
The cellular signal was absolutely the number one challenge. We had a backpack that was rented for a 1-month period, and the cell signal at that particular course was... maybe it still is to this day, I don't know, was abysmal. It was terrible. And so certainly not with the technology that we're afforded today. The it definitely sucked in various parts of that course more than another. And at one point, I know we were kind of standing down, and I don't know if it was in the middle of maybe round 2 that we actually said, hey, we're going to close things down for a little while. We're going to shut the stream down for now so that we can recharge some batteries so that we could give you the ending, the conclusion of the tournament. Because I remember running back and forth into the pro shop to charge this battery. And at the time, we didn't know any better. So I think we had like one, maybe 2 additional batteries when we really needed probably 5 or 6, but we had no idea of that. It was a little bit of a cluster of a maddening day in so many ways, but yet you can't say it enough.
Exciting.
Everything that we learned and the excitement that came with it, all on this day 8 years ago.
Yeah, that was wow. I just think back to how we were doing it back then with a rented backpack that Legacy helped fund. A completely different software. I was doing it on a Mac. One camera with you tethered to it doing commentary. What a difference. What a change. Let's go back to those. I was just reminiscing with somebody, kind of, if you can call it that. Someone made a post on Reddit about, because lately Drew Gibson's been on Twitter. They've been talking about athleticism. And there's a real short blip that we put into our Mad City coverage a little bit later that year, I believe it was. Maybe it was the next year we did Mad City. Anyway, and it was Drew Gibson saying something like, hey, you're watching Smashbox TV, as we did a bunch of those. And then he runs and jumps over a basket, and it looks like he's going to do like a full 2-legged jump, but he ends up just kind of doing a little splits over it. So he makes it over the basket, and everyone kind of chuckles. And I was saying, man, back in those days, we could literally do whatever we wanted. We could put whatever we wanted in the broadcast. No one could stop us. The freedom that we had was kind of fun. I love the professionalism that we have now. The product is better. It's really exciting. But there was something fun about just doing that back in the day. And we'll probably talk a little bit later about some of that fun that we had, like when I put a clock on Nico at one point.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that and Nico later.
Yeah. So, of course, from the bottom of our hearts, just thank you to everybody that has logged in and in any way stayed up to date, not just with us at Smashbox, and obviously the evolution that has continued over to the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and that forever will be only possible, and all gratitude and thanks go to Steve Dodge, because Steve Dodge was, again, one of those few tournament directors that not only saw value, but saw something else that said, hey, we're ready to invest into this.
2 yahoos.
Yeah, we trust these 2 clowns. And just the faith and the dedication and everything else that people ultimately put into us. And Dynamic Disc is right there on top of that list, along with Legacy. All some of our strongest supporters throughout those years when we were just getting things started. And so much of that first month was truly just, and it's funny because they'll continue to fall on these fun dates, but going to events and saying, hey, we're gonna, we're at the Bowling Green AMs. Can we cover the back, the final 9?
Hey, can we have Jamie Thomas as a cameraman?
Yeah, Jamie Thomas
and Simon Lazat sitting there doing commentary, and Avery Jenkins helping out. Just some of those guys.
Yeah, those guys.
But where are they now?
Yeah, exactly. Clearly, they've only been on a downslide since leaving the work they were doing with us. No, but in all seriousness, thank you, so many of you guys, and of course the podcast then started a few months later, and now that we're nearing 400 episodes of those, that's a whole nother story. But so forever. April 5th, in my opinion, certainly a day for me to always remember as part of my own little disc golf history, along with Johnny and the people that helped make that possible. Legacy Disc, namely the people that made that possible, as they footed the bill for us to have that very first ever broadcast unit. And we just kind of got things started from there. So pretty crazy, and a pretty exciting day nonetheless. So congrats. Max Nichols was the one that took that event down, and hopefully we're going to see him out playing more golf here soon. According to his socials, I think that's exactly what we're going to see.
Promises.
I know. I mean, kids, family, all that stuff. Jeez, it's like these little kids are all growing up.
Right, and we're just getting older.
That's exactly true. So, with all of that out of the way, just thank you. Thank you guys so much. I believe now, last week we had a very fun podcast where I was able to give you a little insight coming in from the shop over there at Sun King Disc, thanks to Mike Barnett and Throw Down the Mountain. Now, this week, well, I guess if you're going to have a preview week, you got to have a recap week. And when we do that, we bring in our FPO champion. Somehow, it's only her first time, which I still don't believe, Ellen Widboom. Ellen,
Hi.
seriously, like, congrats, welcome. But when you told me that, I'm still in shock. That was really your first time winning Throwdown?
Yes, first time winning, my 5th time playing. I started it in 2017. And yeah, I had a string of, I looked it up the other day. It was like, I think I got 3rd place and then 2nd, and then I tied for 2nd, and then I may have gotten 2nd again. I got 2nd last year to Sarah Hokum came and crushed us all. And then, yeah, this was the year, my first Throwdown title.
So you can understand how I was a little miffed by that, thinking like, how have you not won this before? You've been right there in contention for it. And again, apologies to everyone that haven't yet seen the coverage. Now, you'll just have to figure out how she went about taking down this victory in the next couple days. But how does it feel to win almost literally in your backyard? I mean, you are about as close to the course as possible without being at Maple Hill and being Steve Dodge. You're as close to the course as possible, right?
That's accurate. I live, I think it's just about 2 miles down a road, main road, and then another side road. It was actually close to where the spectators were parking this year because of all the flooding. But yeah, childhood home right down the road. I've actually walked to the course before with my bag. I mean, it was a little sketchy. I wouldn't recommend it because the main road's there's no side to walk on, but I have done it before. Yeah, so I mean, it's my home course, but not really because it's only here once a year.
Yeah, and let's dig into that just a little bit. And I know home course is a phrase you can almost throw around, but the course is really in the ground about a month. This year was the longest it's ever been in the ground. I think upwards of almost 6 total weeks when it was said and done, somewhere between 5 and 6 weeks. But it's not like you're over on this property hanging out, playing practice rounds any other time out of the year, right?
I wish. Yeah, no, but I did come into town for that purpose specifically. I really wanted, if anything, to play better than I have years past. So I skipped Texas States, came directly home after the other Texas tournament. And yeah, I was out there. I probably played the course 8 to 9 times in the span of like a week and a half.
And now you're used to pro tour level courses and championship caliber courses. Explain how this relates or compares to any of the other courses that you see out on tour.
Well, the start of the tour, I know that Waco was my favorite course because it had the mix of the open and the wooded. With Throwdown, you kind of have both, but I would say it leans more towards being mostly wooded. It does have some shots where you can air out. I think it is close to that caliber, other than the fact that it is only used once a year, so there are issues with it, sometimes with maintenance, or there's cows on it 11 months out of the year, so you're going to contend with some fun little stances out on the course if you're not careful. And I think maybe that's the only downside I can think about, is that it's just not walked 12 months out of the year. So it does still have a couple little hiccups in it, but I think it should be on the tour 100%.
Yeah, and
the guys do an amazing job of prepping it for the tournament.
They certainly do, and that's the Sun King crew, and then my primary host in Dwayne Reeder, and I know him and a whole slew of other people. I don't know everyone's name, but I know Dwayne helps lead that charge and is a integral part of that operation. And like you said, it essentially grows very naturally for 10 and a half, 11 months out of the year. And then every year it's almost a little bit of a reset process to go back out and be like, okay, let's get this groomed up so that it's playable and ready to go. Yeah, I think the only one downside, which unfortunately, as long as it's private property and owned and used, shared with cows, I think the only downside that comes about year after year is just that because of all those reasons, that's why we're not seeing concrete or a more permanent T-pad on
Correct.
all of the holes. And so very understandable, but if somebody had a knock, unfortunately, that would probably be the only one, which is really out of our hands.
Correct. Yeah, it just wouldn't make sense to put them in out there with the cows. A lot of times, I would imagine using them as sleeping pads. So, probably wouldn't be in the best shape after 11 months.
Yeah, certainly some interesting visuals for out there. So again, some of this is new to everybody, and if you're not up to date with how the weekend went down, and you want to watch it, then you may want to step aside. But we're here for the details. So Friday was a really nice day.
Yep.
Tell us about what it was like Friday night and then leading into Saturday, because I feel like a lot of the world doesn't know some of these details and how the weekend and how the event kind of flew under the radar a little bit with Music City happening. Tell us what happened Friday night leading into Saturday.
Well, so I guess I want to go back to Thursday night.
Okay.
Was it Thursday night when we got all the rain? And it
Yes.
was like I've lived in Florida. I'm from Florida. I've lived here. It rained so hard that, I mean, you couldn't hear yourself think at points. It sounded like the raindrops were the size of bowling balls. It was loud, it was long, and it was basically like for hours and hours and hours and all through the night. So, I mean, we knew there was going to be some flooding issues because there are some low-lying spots, and it's like clay is the base of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really doesn't have anywhere to go that fast. So when we got to the course, they had already switched up two of what I would think are the signature holes, or at least very unique to the course, where you have to throw up over a cliff on hole 13. It's a small cliff. It's compared to hole 18's cliff. And both of those holes changed because the tee pad for 13 was underwater.
By feet, like feet of water, right?
Like feet, like there was a little pond that was off to like the front of it that maybe, you didn't want to like shank it right. It was eerie. It was like the walking path went back there halfway and then it was just a lake. Yeah. So they moved it up to the top, I think they made it a par 4, which was a great change. I think it still brought the Mando into play. And then hole 18, this thing where we all remember, I think, Simon Lizotte teeing from the top and going for it around the corner, making the top. We didn't get the chance to play from up top. It was a lake at the bottom with essentially no landing zone, no fair landing zone, and no way to really mark OB because the water just overran the fairway. So they made it a par 3. We played to the shorter basket. And it changed the dynamic. It kind of changed the mood of the card a little bit. And so we heard rumors on Friday when we finished our round that, okay, maybe they're going to postpone, like cancel, or maybe they'll just let a few groups play, or maybe we'll just keep an eye on the weather. And he made an announcement that by a certain time Friday night, they were going to make an executive decision based on the weather. And a couple weekends prior, they had to cancel one round of a 2-round tournament for the AMs because there were forecasted like torrential downpours and tornadoes, which, I mean, that scares any tournament director, let alone like the day it happens, you're freaking out, but the day before, and then you have to make a decision and just not hope that the weather stays the same so that you're validated, but that you've made the best decision based on all the facts that you can only get, like, because nobody can predict the future. So they had to make a decision, and they canceled the second round, which made it a 2-day A tier for us to finish on Sunday. And I mean, they did the right thing because Saturday at like 1:00, the bottom let out, and it was just another downpour for hours and just the rest of the evening. And it was lightning and thunder. And we can't play with lightning anyway. And if you played in Florida, if it rains, it's probably going to lightning and thunder. So it's not like some of the ones up in Seattle and like other states where you'll just get gloomy and rain and you can play in that. There will be lightning. So unfortunately it got canceled, which made it an even weirder experience. And I think it being the 10th anniversary of the tournament, I wouldn't say it was apropos for it, but it just kind of made it that much more unique. Not necessarily in the positive way, but I know some of my friends and I went out to the quarry. We saw a bunch of other people out at the quarry in Brooksville, which is another one of Mike Burnett's courses, which is awesome. It's 20 holes. I'm gonna go check it out. There was like, I'd say there's 20 to 30 people there on Saturday morning because it was actually nice. The rain hadn't hit, and we all got to some practice out there. We played 15, 18 holes. We had a good Saturday despite the fact that we didn't get to play the canyon.
Yeah, and I'll tack onto that. It was a little odd because the forecast was calling for whether it was noon or 1 or 1:30 or 2 o'clock, but knowing that this course and the day when you guys played it the day before, it was more than a 4 hour. I think it was 4.5, nearly a 5 hour round. So even had you started at 9 a.m. or 9:20, you were going to likely carry into that time frame where the weather was supposed to hit, which it coincidentally was pretty much right on time. And so then you're dealing with, we've played 13 holes or we've played 15 holes. And then are we going to finish those 3 holes on Sunday morning and then play another 18 on Sunday yet and try and fit all those in? And you're talking about daylight, you're talking about just amount of people on the course. And then maybe even worse than all of that, you're talking about these potentially really dangerous or unfun conditions. Not just unfun, but legitimately dangerous. I mean,
right.
Yes, it's not like it's not a Colorado, Rocky Mountain, so to speak, but you're still talking about this clay. And we had enough of a difficult time walking around on Friday just to try and not slip and slide from rain that had come the night before. I can't imagine being on that course in a downpour walking down half of those hills. Like, there was going to be legitimate injuries.
They say the cows do it, but I mean,
I'm big, but I don't.
And they have what do they call those? The somebody
hooves?
used the term the other, the hooves, but they're So anyway, we made jokes like we're not cows, but the cows do it. But yeah, no, it was borderline dangerous. I know that last year Jessica Oleski, she slipped and like hurt herself and had the DNF, and so she had trauma from that and was like, totally understandable. Like, you could barely keep your footing when it was dry out there and not raining. So yeah, it was slightly dangerous, but nothing really out of control, and they made the right changes to make sure that nobody was like teeing off from close to water or like any danger. So
yeah, I understand. I've been a TD myself, and nobody likes to call. There's no benefit to calling off golf from happening, and from a TD perspective, for instance, and there's nothing to gain by that. And you're exactly right. It's a tough call because then immediately it's just like when you get mad at a meteorologist who's wrong, and then it's like, well, we're relying on them and what their forecast says, but we're ultimately, as a TD, your number one job is to keep the players safe. And so I feel like if you're on a perfectly flat course, that drains well, sure, maybe you can roll the dice a little longer or harder, but not on a facility like that. Private property with rocks and hills and mud and everything else. I know some people second guess Mike's decision, and I guess that's just part of being a TD. You get second guess for everything you do, but I fully support the way in which he went about it. Again, it creates so much awkwardness about that final round if something gets cut off midday or mid-round anyway, right? I mean, they said 1 o'clock. What happens if it really would have hit at 10 o'clock a.m.? That would have just like thrown that partial round even more into a tailspin. Yep. So at any rate, so that was Thursday night rain. We dealt with it Friday. Friday was good. Friday night, it was then announced that there would be no golf on Saturday, and that your second and therefore final round would just take place on Sunday. Obviously, it feels weird, but coming out Sunday, were you refreshed, ready to go? Any new thoughts or beginnings for Sunday morning's round?
I was when I heard that it was canceled, I was bummed because I didn't get one more round at the Canyon until next year. That was like my only thought, because I think playing so many times as on casual rounds and hanging out at the course and helping out here and there, like, it just felt like another kind of slightly casual round to me, with a little bit of like the added pressure of, oh man, like I'd really like to win this, but I'd also just like to play better than I have on Friday. And then in years past, like I'm always about not necessarily just like, oh my gosh, like I gotta win, because that hasn't helped me in the past, obviously, at this course. So I was like, I just want to shoot better than I have and not slip and mind my steps. And so just either, play hole one, get off the tee okay. That's kind of like my goal. I've started tournaments with bogeys. I've lost track of how many times. So it's like, just play hole one smart, get the nerves out, and then just play the course like you've played it a lot before. Have fun, because this is your last time playing until next year, and enjoy the card. And then whatever happens at the end.
Well, you shot the same score as first and second round.
Did it feel the same?
So I'm really not mad at it.
How did those rounds feel? I mean, you can talk about ultimately where you finish and all that other stuff, but to you personally, how did those rounds feel?
They felt great. I had great card mates to start out with. Like Friday just felt so light, and everybody was just happy to be there and out playing in Florida. And it was Lisa's first time. I mean, she'd got a couple practice rounds in, but it was her first tournament round at this course. And that always like makes me happy, because this person is like getting to play at this course, and their mind's gonna be blown, because it is such a mecca, and it's hard to describe out there. But yeah, the feeling was, I really don't have any other words for it.
No, it is a very special place in a lot of people's hearts, and that's what I've picked up. I've been there now 8 times in the last 9 years. The only goofy year was really they had the AM weekends, and then COVID hit, and I was going to go from Waco in 2020. The very next weekend was the pro weekend of Throw Down the Mountain, which I was slated to go cover. So the event has happened on paper 10 times. 9 times have they had, all the divisions. And so this is my 8th time there. And man, everybody loves it. Everybody.
I try to tell people about it and show them the videos, and because I do live right down the road, sometimes I'll just kind of throw it out there, be like, and especially before COVID, it was like, you could stay at my house. Like, we've had some of the top pros staying at our house, and and my dad loves the sport, and my mom's supportive, and it's just like they get to. Simon Lizotte came to my house one time just because he was hanging out with some other people, and we're just like, Simon Lizotte's in the house. Like, this is amazing. It's just, you get all these top pros coming to town that showcase this course, and Paul Macbeth, I think, has said that it's one of his top favorite courses. And I just watched the first round just dropped, by the way, for everybody that's interested. Terry posted the first round of the MPO coverage, and he just looks so comfortable and at home, and he's got a smile on his face like half the round, which if you watch Paul play, like, he's usually just like serious mode, and he just looked like he belonged there. So it does something to people when they show up, and because it's so unique, it is a special experience.
I feel like that's one of the biggest takeaways week in and week out, year after year. And that's part of the reason, and we talked to Mike a little bit about it last week when I was in his shop and we were doing the podcast from there. That's why he's had to expand it to 4 separate weekends. And I don't think there's an event that has gotten to that point. And now you could say, well, Emporia can host 1,000 or 1,800 people in 1 week because they have the capacity. But this event truly is maxed out, and so having to expand it to 4 separate weekends is just incredible. And I think that speaks volumes again about how much people love and enjoy being there.
And him as a TD.
Yeah, certainly. I mean,
and it's Brooksville. Like, we're not Emporia. We're not like a mecca for disc golf. It's Brooksville. There's some really neat stuff to do here in town. It's not a big town, but it draws these people in, and it's just like, I don't know, it kind of boosts, how you think of Emporia, and it boosts the economy. Like, for Brooksville, you get a lot of local people, but when you get the people from out of town and coming in from states and different things like that, man, it just kind of, it puts us on the map, and it really is a great town. And Mike does an amazing job with all the people that he has. And for anybody that doesn't know, again, I'll reiterate, this course is not taken care of for 11 months out of the year, maybe like 10. the guys that work out there, and I could name them all. I mean, I wouldn't be able to name them all. They put in so much work out there, at least a month, I would say, before this tournament even. And it's daily. They're always out there. You have to think of everything that happens over a year, all the trees that fall, branches, the cows that are out there. They have to get them and put them somewhere else. All the cows that have left little gifts behind in 11 months on the ground. They have to clean that off and shovel it and put it somewhere. And they made benches this time out of the wood that they cut. They put in 2 sets of wooden stairs on the more dangerous slopes, so the walkways. They make the sign in the field on hole 11 every year out of wood that says throw down the mountain. And this year was a giant X made out of trees. They haul that from different places on the course. It is so much work put into this course. And I hope everybody truly, I hope they get a chance to experience it because I thank you to all the guys that do that. It's really, hopefully one of these years I'll finally be able to be in town long enough to actually help out with that stuff because it's kind of neat. My dad helped for a couple years while I was playing, and he did a lot of work out there. And mowing. Anyway, I could go on and on, but thank you guys. They've done
it is.
doing a great job.
All the accolades are 100% warranted and should be out there. And then I know you said you weren't able to help with some of that prep work, but you were out there doing some volunteering of your own. Explain how you were involved a week or two before.
So I love spotting on hole 18. It is so much fun to see the shots that come down, to throw up the green flag when they've made it, because it doesn't matter. There's 2 tee pads for 18. One is the pro layout, and the other one, most of the amateurs get to play. And it's off to, if you're looking at the tee pad, 18's right in front of you, and the other one's like a tiny keyhole off to the right, and they usually play to the longer hole on the short setting. So both tee pads are basically playing blind if you don't throw it straight.
Mm-hmm.
And to throw up the green flag is just this, you can hear them. You can hear people, if people talk at this normal candor, you can still hear them from down in the valley.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard one guy one time I was down there and they were doing practice and he's like, oh, I bet she can hear us. And he was like, he was like, hey, Ellen. And I'm like, hey, because you can hear everything that they're saying. And so it's so much fun to be down there and to help and then help people find their discs and then to see them make it up on the cliff. And it's so you make a day out of it. I brought my lunchbox and a chair and drinks. It's an experience. So yeah, I love helping out because I know what it's like when somebody gives me the green flag or the red flag. So I like to give as much enthusiasm to it as people would give me for a really good shot.
So as a side note to that, I'll ask, when you do have to put up a red flag, is it kind of subtle and gingerly, sorry, here's your red flag? Or are you you're way out. You're definitely out of bounds.
No, because I've had spotters do that to me before.
Uh-huh.
And there's, I've had spotters do that to me before. So it's more or less, I got in a habit of raising the flag and hanging my head.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Oh man, I don't want to do it. So they knew I wasn't happy about it.
Yeah, and so I guess buried in here is a little pro tip, and I've kind of said this to cameramen that I've worked with. Don't be overly anxious or loud or excited to let someone know they're out of bounds. You might be being very helpful, but I have learned to temper that. Of course, I'm not excited to say, oh, you're out of bounds, you're getting a stroke. But even just in your tone, be like, yeah, sorry, man, that's out of bounds, or, whatever. Yeah, that's OB. You see, sometimes, our enthusiastic spotters want to just, flag you down with that red flag. And it's a subtle version would work.
Gotta give it my all. It's no, we can see the red from where we're at. Just give it a little half mask.
Yeah, you don't have to give it your all. Just give it the bare minimum if it's red. Just a little.
But for the green, full gusto. Go
yeah.
For the
Oh
greens.
yeah.
You
Jumping
are,
jacks.
Dance with it.
Anything you want when that
land an airplane.
I was doing it. Yeah, I was doing it so hard that the green flag, it was on just like a piece of little PVC pipe, may have been wood. It started to come off of the pole because I'd whip it up so hard. The glue or whatever was on it just started to like come off. So every time I had to like pull it back down on the post. I was like, all right, I'm doing it right.
If you're not breaking the green flag, you're not enthusiastic enough.
Yeah,
I think that's the takeaway, right? Yeah, you don't really love your spotting job if the flag's not being ripped off the pole. But yes, that would be my one subtle tip, or a tip that you could react to subtly is here's your red flag. So you're out there spotting, taking in the action, and this year we've seen, well, like you just said, you were in Texas, you come back for this, and now the world's going to see you back on the regular tour or a semi-regular tour, because we've seen you kind of dabble and jump here and there, and you don't necessarily always follow the biggest events. You go to where your heart and your personal desires take you to events. So what's kind of your game plan this year?
This year, yes, I am focusing more on the Pro Tour events, and especially because they streamlined it to where you could play Pro Tours, and they had a bunch of like Silver Series because they took over the national tour. So it almost still feels like every weekend I'm playing. I'm missing a few, but yes, I'm going to Tallahassee this upcoming weekend. I'm still at home right now, but the weather's bad in Tallahassee, so I'm just kind of taking my time, and then I'm going to play Champions Cup in Georgia, and then it's Jonesboro and on out from there. I'm still going to get to see family and friends this year on the tour, and I'm really excited about that. But yes, I am, for this year, focusing primarily on the Pro Tour with a handful of A tiers spattered in there. And a couple weekends off, actually, which is very tough for me to do. And it seems like I'm doing something wrong when I take a weekend off, but I'm realizing the limitations of my body mentally and physically. And I think it's the smart way to go. And I think it's going to help in the long run. And last year was the year to do the every weekend kind of thing. So I'm definitely playing a little smarter this year in more ways than one.
I see one weekend off, like the June 17th weekend, and then maybe July 15th. Two. I count 2 weekends off between now and the middle of August.
You are getting so lazy this year,
I can't
Ellen.
believe it. I cannot believe it.
I didn't play for like I played one event in Florida at the beginning, and then I didn't play again until Vegas, and it felt weird, but I got to spend time with family and friends and prep and practice. So it's different, but it's a nice change, at least for a year. We'll try it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. You're gonna have to reassess.
She might find a seat here. Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna count anything out.
I do like those flex starts. Oh, I'm not gonna lie.
There should be an Ellen Flex Start tour where you're just running and then you play and then you run a Flex Start wherever you go. I mean,
those might be coming. I can maybe do that next year. Yeah, I'm gonna get on that.
I like that idea. I know it's probably a big ask, but is there a section of the country, a time within the tour that you particularly either look forward to, or you're ready to reattack, or that's got the extra big circle or bold circle on the calendar? Is there anything that jumps out at you when you're looking at your tour season?
Yes, Beaver State Fling. I haven't been there, I want to say, since maybe 2018. And then it got canceled, and then the course went on. So it's been years since I've been there, and I never have really played solid golf out there, and my game has changed a lot over like 4 years. So I love Oregon. I'm gonna camp when I get out there. My sister lives in she lives in Seattle right now, so she's gonna come down and caddy, and we're gonna hang out and camp together. So I'm super excited about Oregon, and then Wisconsin, Michigan area. I say that Wisconsin is basically a Florida that where it snows, because it is, and it has like more hills. But I love Wisconsin. I love the area. I love the people. I mean, I know you guys are biased.
No,
Maybe a little bit.
But it is my favorite time of year to go up there in the summer when it's just gorgeous. So, and then I'd like to think that I'm gonna make the cut for Vermont and GMC, like GMC area, but we'll see. I'd love to go up there again, but right now I'm really looking forward to those two spots specifically.
Okay. Yeah. Well, great. We love the idea of people loving coming to the Midwest, especially Wisconsin. I mean, I know, fair or not, I always I don't get mad at anyone when they kind of get either confused or lump in like a Minnesota, a Wisconsin, and a Michigan. We have very similar disc golf scenes. I feel like all of the scenes are very solid. All three of them have over 400 courses per state and then some, and similar topography, similar climate, all of that stuff is relatively similar in those three states. And so when the swing is anywhere there, whether it's D-Glow or the U.S. Women's this year, or the Preserve, or the Minnesota Majestic, all of those events, we just, of course, we love it when people are here and taking in what the Midwest up here has to offer. So that's exciting to have you. Is there anything? I guess I'm going to backtrack. Earlier, you were talking about traveling, being a little bit smarter with what you're doing. Saw you pack up everything. You laid it all out on a floor. I think you probably had tape out, and
I did. I had to.
you're so diligent and organized. What does touring look like for you right now, and what really has led you to, I'll say, the methodology in which you're touring? What does that look like, and what's led you to those decisions and how you're doing it?
Yeah, so I did the van life in 2018 when I separated from the military. I was like, everybody's doing the van life. So I bought a van, did the van for a year. It was great, but I kind of felt myself kind of closed off. I would just hole up in the van, for lack of a better term, and it was expensive. It was an old van and it had repairs. So I was like, let me try the car life. And I really enjoy Airbnbs. Like, I love the hunt for a good place to stay. Like, it is like a passion of mine. So for me, it's packing. I'm going to add a few more things because I'm home now. I tried it out with just a handful of things because I knew I was going to be back in a month. So I'm adding a few more things to the car, and I got a bigger topper on the roof. But I'm really trying to stay as minimal as possible. I realized last year that I still had too much stuff after 3 years of living out of my car. I still have too much stuff. Like, day to day, I don't need that. I don't really need a lot of like material things when it really boils down. So, and anything that you don't have on the road, you could buy or ask or borrow for in a pinch. So really trying to just minimize, get better gas mileage, because we all know the gas prices are crazy right now. So car life has been great. I love it. It is daunting sometimes to drive the long distances by myself, but I listen to podcasts and music, and I call friends and family, and I'm camping hopefully in Georgia. That's another thing. Like, I take a lot of camping gear with me, and I like to cook out when I'm out camping, or fire. I bought a hot plate, all these little things that I've like added over the years that I get really excited about. So when I go to a location and there may not be an Airbnb, I'm like, all right, well, I can rough it for a week. Like, let me camp, save some money, and then Airbnb it the next week. And then, so it kind of breaks even on that.
So I have to follow up with what makes for a great Airbnb. What have you experienced that you love about, a good one? And then what specifically are you hunting for that you may or may not then get? But what are you hunting for to enhance that experience, that Airbnb experience?
Okay, so when you said that, the first thing that comes to mind, and this may sound silly, is shelves. Like, I love shelves. Because I know, that sounds weird.
Well, you said you don't have a lot of stuff either.
I know, and that's the crazy thing, but it's like, I love when it's so convenient to just like, look over and there's like a place to put like a cup, or like the snack that you're eating, or your phone. I stayed at an Airbnb actually in Wisconsin for Silver Cup there were shelves everywhere. I couldn't believe how many shelves there were. So I don't look for that in the Airbnbs necessarily, but it is nice when they have it. You got to make sure that the bed has good reviews, because always read the reviews when booking an Airbnb, and never book an Airbnb that has less than 4.5 stars on their reviews, because I've stayed in some dumps. Like, I've stayed in some really bad Airbnbs that the reviews were accurate, but that's all I could afford at the time. And it is true to form. And then obviously look at how many reviews. If there's 10 reviews and they have like 5 stars, it's like, all right, like, let me dig a little deeper. But if there's like 300 reviews and it's 4.9 stars, you're like, man, this place is legit. So you got to make sure that it has a comfy bed. Make sure it has air conditioning, because you'd be surprised at how many places don't have air conditioning.
Yeah, depends on where in the country you are.
When you go to Santa Cruz, because I've been looking, places don't have air conditioning because it does get cool there at night, but not every night. So good bed, air conditioning, a decent kitchen or kitchenette, because I have my own stuff that I can cook with. And yeah, other than that, like, I love a good patio area. The last Airbnb I stayed at in Texas had a beautiful patio area. It was all to myself, because I was like in like a suite that they had built out, I think their garage. So I was kind of off to the side and had my own little space. And I could just go out there and read. I did yoga one morning out on the patio, and it was covered, so the rain didn't bother me. So little things like that make you feel like you're home, and you can kind of completely unpack, for me, my car, and live in a place for a week. And yeah, I've always been fascinated by people's houses and like the way that they live, because I've never done that. I've never lived by myself. I've always lived with roommates or my parents. So I've never lived by myself. So it always intrigues me how somebody builds their house or their space. And so it's neat to find different ones. And I love the hunt.
Well, we were just saying, we were talking.
Too much.
I have a lot more questions actually, but I'm going to let Johnny go.
I was just going to say, we were having this conversation with a friend of ours who's a realtor, and she likes to actually go around to other people's houses and see how they live and just check them out, whether or not they're for sale or not, and just kind of peek in and just how are you a clutter type person, a lot of knickknacks? Is it relatively clean? Is it, minimal? All that stuff. It's a lot of fun to do that. It's one of the reasons I liked house hunting a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, and what I would follow up with is, when you're doing this, are you often rooming with any other disc golfers, or when you're on the hunt, is it largely, hey, here's the space I'm going to go find for the week? Or are you, whether it's MPO, FPO, or any other division, I guess it doesn't matter, but are you ever, kind of pooling resources or people together and saying, hey, I'm thinking about going here. Do you guys anybody else want to join me? What's kind of the method in which you usually roll, and who don't you like?
Just threw that in to see if I noticed that you said. In years past, yes, have usually just done it by myself. I'm just so used. It's easier. It is more expensive sometimes, but it is easier to find stuff by yourself. This year, I am branching out. There are a couple Facebook groups where we can post, especially for women, where we're looking for other like pro women that are looking for a place to stay. So I've gone that route. I've actually probably found a place to stay for U.S. women's in Wisconsin because of a group like that. And then I like to post on a couple of those pages. If I'm going to a place like, let's say, Santa Cruz for Masters Cup, you have to book months in advance to try to find anywhere good, because out there, that's the season. So yes, this year I'm definitely trying to branch out a bit more, split costs with people. And then you get to spend time with people instead of just by myself. And yeah, there's nobody that I don't like. It's really neat to stay with groups, and especially when they keep changing, because you never ever stay with the same people twice. I will say it is difficult because the amount of people that either have a van or sleep in their car, which kudos to them, because I could still not make that work. Like, my car's just too little, and people do it, or they have significant others to where they just want to stay by themselves. So it is a little difficult, but it is nice to have Facebook groups that you can post on and find pretty decent people, like pretty decent response. And I have a couple places actually coming up to, I think, Jonesboro and the DDO. I posted on those and we found some places to stay, and I'm staying with different people from the FPO field. So yeah, it's been nice. Yeah, it helps for sure.
Yeah. Now, how do you specifically seek out places where you're going to essentially be either alone or what am I trying to say? The hosts aren't there. You're not in necessarily a shared space with them. Is that something that you seek out specifically? Is that you want your own private separation?
If it's the right price for me specifically, excuse me, I definitely try to book the entire house, or I like to look for guest suites, which sometimes people post on Airbnb, and there's a box you can check for entire place. Some people don't check that box, and it's a private room when in fact it's actually like your private suite, and it's in a separate area of the house that you never have to see the person. So it really just comes down to doing your research, booking ahead of time. I've done some private rooms before in houses, but again, I make sure they have good reviews. I click on the person that's hosting. I only really like to stay with super hosts because they're like double verified. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of read their bio to, sometimes I like to see if I'm going to vibe with a person if I do see them. Because a lot of places I stay, if it is a private room, sometimes you don't even see the person because you have different schedules, and I just show up to sleep at night and I'm gone like first thing in the morning. So it's just a place to sleep. It's really just case and tournament dependent. Yeah.
And I know this is going to wildly vary. Just like a hotel, just like any other thing within travel and time and year and location. But generally speaking, what do you feel like is in a good price range that somebody should expect to pay if you're looking for a good host that's checking all your boxes? What's like the general range? And what range is like either, well, I'll say too low, where it's like, no, that sounds sketch. And I wouldn't even want to entertain it because it's almost too low and feels weird. Well, what's like a general price range?
Okay, so when you stay at a host, if you go to Airbnb, most places give a weekly discount. So you have to stay for 7 days. You're actually losing money if you only stay for 6 on some places. Like if you do the math, you're actually losing money where you could just stay another night. And so when I plan it, I'm like, oh, if it's a Pro Tour event, I know that the women now are teeing first thing in the morning, so I can check out on a Sunday. As soon as my round is over, I can leave and take off for the next place. And that's where when sometimes they switch some of the tee times, understandably, some people got upset because it's like, no, I planned for this. Like, you got to check out. Yeah. So, I would say for a week stay at a place, I budget for about $500, because I think that if I do enough research and I can find a good place, I can manage $500. And then the next week I'm going to probably go camping or stay with like a host, somebody that I've met over the years that I stay with. And so it breaks even. So then technically I'm only paying like $250 a week. So it's really kind of about the balance. It's like, I know that if I'm going to stay with friends or family, or I'm going to camp, for camping, you should pay no more than, for me, tent camping at a nice place, $200 for a week. Like that's generally what I'm paying, which is awesome. Like
that's assuming you have probably showers and some kind of electrical hookup. I assume roughly $30 a night is.
Yep. Make sure there's good showers and bathrooms. And if you're tent camping, book a tent campsite that is close to the bathrooms, because you do not want to have to walk in the middle of the night if you have an emergency. That's gonna. Speaking from experience. Yes. So about $500 a week, and it breaks even because of all the places I know throughout the year that I'm going to stay in, places that are free. Because of gracious hosts, and then I can save money then. So sometimes I splurge a little bit and then just save extra money when I'm not paying, because I found a really good Airbnb and it's like $600 to $700 a week. And I also book a place that 2 people could stay at, and there might be a bed and a couch, or maybe 2 beds, in case somebody I run into especially in the FPO field, the fields being so big now, it's like, hey, you need a place to stay? Like, throw me a couple $100 and you can stay here for the whole week. Let's kind of split this. So I plan ahead and for contingency stuff. So again, I love the hunt. It's very fun to me. It's what I love to do.
Funny, as a quick side note, I often, for many years now, have had a similar mentality from a hotel perspective in that if it's just me traveling, I will, and assuming prices are the same or they're usually identical, a lot of times if there's a king bed or 2 queens, I will often take the 2 queens option just in case there's some particular player or person or other staff member, whomever, that needs a place to crash in a pinch or something else comes up. That's kind of the mentality I've always had, for sure. So I guess that kind of, you somewhat already touched then on, do you have spots within either the country or time frames within the year where you essentially always know, hey, there's a golfer or a supporter or a fan or a friend or whatever? How often are you staying with, we'll say, Gulf host?
Terry, you're asking me to give up my resources. I don't know if I could do that.
Don't spill the beans, Ellen. Don't spill the beans.
How often? I don't need names. How often, though, are you like, oh, hey, I go to this city and, there's a fan I met 5 years ago or a friend or whatever, or fans that become friends or just fellow players that are the local player that say, hey, I can put you up for the week. Is that a common place for you?
It is. I would say probably I average about once a month.
Okay.
I know that when I go to Michigan, and I look forward to going to Michigan for the tournament, but also for staying at the house that has hosted me for many years. Like, they're amazing. I'm actually staying with somebody in Tallahassee that reached out to me, a disc golfer in the community and his family. They're like, yeah, we have a place for you to stay. Like, come on up whenever. So it's nice over the years. It wasn't like this the first year or two being new on the tour. It's like nobody knew who I was. So it was kind of scary. And it's like networking and trying to figure out, I'd be like, wow, how are people finding these places? Like, I don't understand. And then the more you talk to people, the more people like you recognize and then come in contact with, and then networking. And I was like, oh yeah, like just talk to people. Like, so I would say it averages about once a month. And then I get to stay with family probably once every 2 to 2.5 months. They're scattered throughout the country on my dad's side, and my sister's now out in Seattle, so I'm gonna get to see her. And I got to see my best friend in Las Vegas for the Las Vegas Challenge. I stayed with Christine Finley. Shout out, hi! I got to stay with her for 2 weeks, and we had the best time because we hadn't seen each other and spent a lot of quality time together. So I love my job because I get to travel and get to stay with people that I've never met before, that they just open up their hearts and their houses, and they don't know me from Joe Schmo, and they're just like, you seem all right, come on in, like, be part of our family for a week. I stayed with the people in Texas. Corey, man, you and your family, you were great, and they took me in like I was part of their family, and that was one of the best experiences I've had since I've been on tour.
Yeah, we've said that now for literally 20 years. When Johnny V and I, for instance, went on spring break, and while everyone's partying in Cancun, we were out playing disc golf. I know, go figure.
On spring break.
Yeah,
it was the most boring spring break you can imagine. Well, no, I mean, it was a lot of fun for us, but our goal was to hit as many courses as we could. It wasn't like go to the beach and party. It was, all right, in Georgia, there's 40 courses. And
let's hit 38 of them if we can.
Let's try to hit 30 of them in the Atlanta area.
Which, to be fair, finding courses back then, not only using an actual map and a spiral bound notebook, but just in general, there wasn't a course, every 10 feet like we have now. But anyway, what is it about I mean, I know you just explained everything great about Airbnbs. I feel like the one flip side to maybe all of those benefits are that I personally now have come to, I don't know if enjoy is quite the word, seek out, is if you spend so much time at a chain or at hotels, you then start earning, your way into some free nights, but you clearly don't feel like that's worth the trade-off, I guess is what You probably think.
Yeah, I thought about that before, how Airbnb should do some type of like point system based on how many times you stay with them. But so for me, I like to cook, and when I stay
Okay.
at a hotel, when you try to find a place with a suite that has a kitchenette, that has a stove or anything, the price just goes through the roof, and it's just not worth it in the long run for me, because I save on money if I just buy groceries for the week and I'm able to come back and cook. And yeah, so I think it breaks even when it comes down to that. I would love, when I was in the military, on the military's dime, thank you, like the government's dime, I would earn points. I didn't, we weren't paying for hotels, but I would earn those points, and it was great. But I just think that the experience with an Airbnb and getting to meet hosts sometimes, that even if you're staying in a secluded area, sometimes you actually get to meet them. And I've had dinner with a couple of them, and I think the experience far outweighs the hotel, where it's just check in and then you're in your room. And don't get me wrong, every once in a while it's nice because you just want to be by yourself. But yeah, Airbnb point system, I like that.
Yeah, I'll say I feel like I would fully change it up if Airbnb, had something of that nature. And I know it's not the same because chains are franchised, and I understand a ton of those logistics as to why. But I think that to me is one of the biggest appeals, is the fact that I know if I'm what's the word I'm looking for? If I'm committed to a given chain or whatever, I'm going to get some form of a perk or kickback, in due time for, being consistent with one particular place. But again, you trade off so many things.
Yeah. You get frequent, you fly so much with the frequent flyer miles. I can't even imagine. Yes, that is 100% the right way to go.
Yeah, and I'll just, to finish that thought, I would say if I were more like a lot of our touring players that were frequently had a lot of their stuff with them, and then they wanted to unpack and spread out, and then that was kind of, they were traveling with a lot more stuff in that sense, I think an Airbnb would probably be more advantageous. Like you said, I would be like, damn, where are the most shelves? Like I need a place with shelves to put all of my stuff everywhere. But I can totally understand that. There's a certain, I was going to say sterileness, if that's the word, but there's which is kind of an maybe a catch-22 with some hotels. But anyway, it's just kind of a sterile environment. It's certainly not as homey and as feeling, and that's so much of the appeal to the Airbnb. Like if you have 5 friends over and you want to play cards or you want to, have a meal together, yeah, you're right. A hotel is not generally going to be that setting.
Can I give a really quick tip to anybody that's traveling or touring or pro touring? Actually, 2 tips. First of all, get some type of gas app. And I know that they're not really doing a lot now because of how high the gas prices are, but I have a gas app where I get cash back because it gives you a cheaper price on gas. Again, you got to do your research. And also, if you have a credit card or you are a fan or you're okay with credit cards, get a credit card that somehow gets you travel points for gas and groceries and hotel stays. Do some research and get a credit card that is going to give you something back, because as much as you're on the road, you are doing yourself a disservice if you are not getting something out of it. So
I couldn't agree more. Those are very, very valid points, because as you said, if you're probably charging something anyway in terms of how you're paying for it, you certainly find whatever credit card service that offers you the best return on said purchases that you're going to be making regardless. And then I always think of the getting Kmart involved with those big gas prices, those big gas trucks. Yeah. Anyway,
half the people listening to this don't know what Kmart is.
I know that's how old. That's how old I am.
No, Terry.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, is there any? I know we kind of talked about where you're going, what you're looking forward to. Is there any event or stop that would be truly surprising? Where like, oh, I would have never thought of that, or what brings you there? Is there any stop or anything this year or place that, off the top of your head, that might seem out of the ordinary to others?
Well, I signed up for one in Canada, but I've dragged my feet on getting my passport, so I don't think that's going to happen. And
Okay.
I actually looked at the tour, and I'm like backtracking, so maybe next year. No, honestly, everything. I mean, the 303 Open in Colorado is kind of a stopping. It's an A tier on the way to California, and I have friends there, and I've been wanting to play in Colorado again for years. I think that's really the only surprise. There's really nothing crazy this year. I kind of did that last year, so
Okay.
you're in a
Um,
good way.
and at any, you're not. I'm sorry. I guess I could just look at your schedule. Johnny's got
I have it up here.
You are
Oh, it's
not.
always changing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say you are not going international though. Would that? Well, I guess your passport answer just
Yeah,
kind of answers that. You're not going to European Open or any of those.
I'm not, and my sister and I really want to go one of these years, and she's kind of settled in Seattle right now. I and I'm not saying I don't want to go because I've already been to Europe. It's not as much of a desire for me to go over there, I think, because I haven't played disc golf over there, at least not officially. But hopefully, I would say within the next year or two, I'll go over to Europe to play disc golf. But it just wasn't on the docket for this year. I think if I do that, I'll probably play less events stateside, which will require a little bit more planning on my part and budgeting. So it just wasn't, this year just wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, and I think you just hit the nail on the head. I remember thinking in 2008 I had the opportunity I was before I was doing media really. I went and played in the Japan Open, and I remember thinking like, this is incredible, this is amazing. I'm so glad I went. I loved it. And I remember when it rolled around 2 years later, I thought, well, I'd like to go somewhere else. That was a very different world of disc golf in 2008, but I always thought, yeah, I love Japan, and it was this insane experience. But if I'm going to travel international to go somewhere, I should go play one of the other international events. And so I can understand if you've been to,
but then you got to go with me and Johnny Rumble. We went to Japan in 2010 together.
It was so much fun. And to be fair, the reason I got to go was thanks to our friends over at Innova. I had purchased a whole bunch of fundraiser discs that were support discs, 150 class Japan Open rocks.
Yeah.
And
nice.
I just bought them because I'm a hoarder and a collector. And then Sam Ferens called me and said, "Hey, Terry, you won the grand prize, which is free airfare to the Japan Open, because you had bought some of these discs, and therefore that." I was like, "Oh, I did?
God.
Okay, I guess I'll go." And so then I had to go back to Japan, but my logic was
well worth it.
I'd like to try other new places, and that's how I still feel to this day, right? If you've been somewhere, you're like, yeah, it might have been great or amazing. Like, I'm never going to turn down an opportunity to go to Norway, even though I've been there twice. But if somebody said, hey, do you want to go to Norway or another country for the first time? Well, I'd love to go to a new country. So yeah, I know exactly how you feel. You'll get back there. You'll go play some golf over there. Innova this year, primary sponsor. Name some of your other sponsors, who you're working with, who's been supporting you, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Innova, they have been amazing. I've been with them since the beginning. I actually found out when I was in town for Throwdown in 2017, my first year. I was at my parents' house. My best friend Christine had just driven 9 hours from North Carolina to surprise me at the course to be there that weekend. And I found out that weekend that I got sponsored by Innova. So Throwdown also, it holds another special place in my heart because of that. So yes, Innova Champion Discs, amazing. Sun King Discs is actually new this year. Mike Barnett, we talked a lot over the off season about it, and he's helped support me. And I actually went over to his course and played there quite a few times to get some good practice in. So Sun King this year, and it's just nice to be sponsored by a Florida company. Finally, I just feel like it's fitting. I have Upper Park bags again this year. Love them. They've done so many neat things with social media. They just did the April Fool's thing with Disc Golf in Space. That was hilarious, and it was a lot of effort. They were doing it like a month in advance, so that was really cool. And then Disc Golf pins. Mm-hmm. I have a Bogies Are Dumb pin and my Ellen Widboom Tour Series with me. I think I'm throwing a sidearm and my water jug is on the pin as well.
Of course.
Because
As it should be.
Yep.
As it should be. And then New World Disc Golf up in the sports complex up in Jacksonville. Jen McCrae, she hit me up and she's trying to get the women's scene going there. And unfortunately, with Johnny and everything that he's going through, they're going through a lot. So obviously, our best wishes and prayers are with them. So it's kind of taking a little bit of a back burner, understandably. But she's a big supporter of women's disc golf and trying to get that going up there. So yeah, those are my sponsors for this year.
Is there any? We'll make it a call out. Whatever. Is there any thing that you're looking for in terms of sponsorship? I mean, you've obviously got discs and a bag sponsor and such. Is there any sponsor that'd be like, yeah, that'd be really cool if blank industry called me up and wanted to support me? Is there anything in particular?
Airbnb.
Besides,
man, I mean, I eat a ton of snacks. I have all the food sponsors in mind. I could definitely pull a Paul Ulibarri and like just start naming food items that I'd love to be sponsored by. But honestly, Ultra Shoes, ALTRA, my feet, I used to wear other shoe brands that were like squashing my feet, and I have big, kind of wider feet. And after a round of disc golf, my feet would just be cramping and in pain. So I have switched to them a year and a half ago, and I have had, I'm not even kidding, I'm 0 foot pain after any round that I've ever had. I love their shoes. I own 3 pairs in the same exact color and size because they're super great and I love them. So I think a shoe company would be amazing because they are expensive. They're about $150 for a pair, but they're worth every penny and they last a while. So yeah, I think the shoe company would be great. Nature's Bakery, Fig Bars, you guys are amazing. I eat your bars every day. They are a solid Fig Newton delicious treat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some snacks, some shoes.
Yes.
Have you had any conversations or had a chance to try or check out the new Ideo shoes that are being produced and put together?
Did talk to them last year and did something with their fundraiser. Honestly, I was confused at what was happening. I don't know if they were like trying to sponsor players or if they were just trying to get like you to pay a certain amount and you'd get a discount on the shoes. So I think I let that go by the wayside.
Okay.
And then I think I was just so set on the shoes that I was wearing that I was like, I can't go anywhere else. Like these are perfect. These are exactly what I need. So I think that was more or less, I was just really happy with what I was already wearing. They look amazing and it's really neat to see pros wearing them and what they're doing for the sport. I think I was just in a different place.
Yeah, and I'm sure, as you said, I think they were maybe doing a Kickstarter, getting some things ready. Might have been, yeah. And now that they are continuing to move forward with development, and I have no tie to them other than speaking with them briefly, and I'm excited to check them out personally. But maybe you could always circle back, revisit that with them, because there again, it's how awesome to have someone that's trying to service the needs and the specific design around disc golfers, and I feel like that's true of anyone coming into our sport that has a particular focus and mindset of, hey, I want to service that community for these specific needs, whether it's toe dragging or just certain support in certain ways or traction. I mean, it's so cool to think like, hey, they have us in mind when they're developing this product exclusively for us. So
right.
That's an unpaid, not paid ad, non-ad for them. I was just tying it together because
Sure,
I know
Terry.
that they're coming.
Right.
They're coming too. But next week's show presented by. No,
No one's going to sponsor us, Terry.
no, they
man.
shouldn't. Maybe. Either way. All right, Alan. Is there anything else we? Oh, I do have to ask. Since you, of course, are Airbnb fanatic and very much more questions along those lines. What's been like a hesitation I have of them is with what seems like very little kickback, they can kind of cancel your stay. Right? Like, so you could plan on a place in Santa Cruz for 6 months and literally like 3 days or less before you arrive, they could say, oh, hey, sorry, not available. A, have you been burned by that, or B, does that at all scare you?
That has only happened to me, once or twice maybe in the 9 years I've been using Airbnb, and it was well within notice.
Okay.
I think it's because I do my research. Like, I'm not saying anybody that's ever happened who hasn't, because extenuating circumstances, but the super hosts, like, I highly recommend booking a place that has really good reviews and somebody that is verified, because it hasn't happened to me a lot, and maybe that's why. I know that when you are booking a place, another tip, look at the cancellation policy, because of COVID, or maybe they've always done this. Some places you cannot cancel and get a refund. It says no refund if you cancel. Like, so do your research, and if you are booking a place months in advance, write down the date on your calendar. When is the last date you can possibly cancel by to get 100% refund? And then, so you have it on your schedule. But definitely look at their cancellation policy, because some people are like, oh, well, if you cancel, you'll get your cleaning service fee back, which is like $100 off a $700 reservation. You're like, what? Like, pay attention, do your research. So no, I haven't had that happen much, if at all. I think maybe one time.
Yeah, and maybe as you're kind of saying, so that might go hand in hand with then the host and the
super host,
and just the overall standing that they have. If somebody cancels 5 times in 10 reservations, there's, who knows what kind of reviews they'll have, or that is probably indicative of, just how they conduct their business.
Yes, I did have that happen to me once, where the person, I booked it, and then they canceled on me, and they messaged me, oh, hey, sorry, I didn't mean for you to book this. I actually booked somebody else. I need you to cancel the reservation. If you cancel the reservation, you didn't get your money back. So I was like, this is a scam. So that actually happened to me twice during COVID. And I was like, and then I messaged them. I was like, actually, it says in the rules that you need to cancel this reservation so that I get my money back. And I actually had to fight with one person back and forth, and they were playing dumb. And I was like, this is a scam. So again, be very aware. Like, you're rarely in the wrong. Like, if you feel like it's a scam, it's probably a scam. So, and then we had to get Airbnb involved one time years ago. We booked a place. A door was cracked. We didn't notice it upon arrival, and they're supposed to do a pre-inspection before we show up. We left. I get a message from the Airbnb host saying, you cracked my door. You owe me $400 because we had an estimate done on the house to fix this doorway. I said, I didn't know that was there. You should have checked it before it was there. Actually, the one guy, a pro player, was staying there. He's like, I noticed it, but didn't say anything because I didn't do it, and it was already there when I checked in. I reported it to Airbnb. Airbnb was like, we have noted your complaint. We will take care of this. And I never heard anything again. So they covered it. So I have so many recommendations. Do an inspection when you first get to Airbnb. And if you see anything, immediately message the host or take a picture, document it. And especially if it's something big, because the last thing you want is to be charged or get scammed by people because they're out there, even if they're a super host. Like, just be aware of your surroundings, and yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess, and obviously that kind of just filters into or carries over into a lot of the times you're renting or utilizing something else, rental car or anything of that nature.
Right.
When it's like, hey, do a quick check on this, see if it's operational, or, was that scratch or dent? I'm sometimes meticulous when I will get a rental car, and I'll like drag somebody over and I'll be like, hey, there's this here. Oh, okay, I'll note it on I'll note it on your document. I'm like, yeah, what if I just return this and you guys then wanted to charge me? So I'll be a little overbearing sometimes if I have to be, in terms of making sure,
Good.
You want to cover yourself so you're not getting blamed for it. I think that was that Eagle that maybe locked himself out of a room, and they ended up having to break down a door at an Airbnb, and then they went to they had to replace the door eventually. But yeah, I mean, there's that as well. So
Yeah.
have you ever thought about, and of course I have to assume you're pretty diligent on writing reviews yourself, right? Is that an assumption? So have you ever thought about taking it a notch up from there and doing any kind of other more thorough or blog or vlog type reviews on places? Because I think that's a huge opportunity and one that you're already there for.
Yes, I looked into that when I was like, man, how do I get paid for traveling? You know, I was like, how do you make money when you're on the road? You know, just kind of the Google searches that every pro tour player at one point does. And I tried to start a blog one time, but no, I really enjoy helping out other people find a place like that. So yes, no, I think that would be kind of cool. I thought about doing it, especially for women on the road, especially if you're a solo traveler. I think for me, it's always that first like step, you know, and for a lot of people, you know, it's that fear of failure. And it's like, well, if you never start, you're never going to fail. So it's like, how do I do this? Where do I start? And then it's like, well, I don't know how to do this, so I'm not going to do it. So no, I agree. I definitely 100% agree with you, Terry. I've thought about it. I just haven't taken that step into doing it. But I think it would be a good resource because I do have all that knowledge and experience and information, and I am passionate about it. So yes, I'm going to look into that.
Don't make me get all Gary.
Don't do it, Terry.
Yeah,
No,
I'll get all
no.
Gary Vaynerchuk on you and start sending you some motivational messages that say quit with your effing excuses. That's your first problem.
Don't worry about it, Ellen.
But the point is, yes, you're exactly right. You need to get started. I'll make the offer. How about this? You take your phone and you do a 2 to 5 minute review of any and all Airbnbs you go to. I'll just pay you outright for the review, and then we'll post them on the Disc Golf Girls channel on YouTube.
Oh man, this is
So
a business
you're making money,
like
and you're talking about Airbnb, which you love.
We'll talk, Terry. I like this.
Okay, I'm just saying, because that was the exact thought I had. Like I go to these hotels all the time, and I'm always thinking, yeah, you see all these reviews, and what do you trust? What do you not trust? And then I thought, wait a minute, I'm already going to a hotel, and I already have a camera. Aside from the obvious creepy nature of that, I do think, hey, why don't I record a quick like 3-minute review of this hotel and then just post it to YouTube? And you'd be surprised, you know, how often someone's like, oh, hey, I'm going to be in, you know, all they got to do is type in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and they're like, oh, well, this guy is showing me the room and is telling me that it's terrible or it smells funny or it's got great internet or whatever they have. Like, it's that easy, and all you need is your phone. Anyway, that's another talk for another day.
Like that. Yeah, no, we'll figure something out because I do like that idea, and especially for the areas that Pro Tour players go all the time. Like, I have looked for Airbnbs that I've stayed at in the past. I have yet to stay at the same Airbnb twice. Because there's so many, and some like the ones that I've stayed at, I guess, are pretty good, so they get booked in advance, and I can never book the same one twice because I have some really good ones. There's one up in Wisconsin that I wish I could find, and I can't find it anymore because I'm pretty sure it's just like booked solid.
Yeah, I mean, and what I'm telling you is also comes from my thought of doing it is because not only is it helping all these other people and it's getting you to do it, it's also leaving a little bit of almost a diary and a trail so that when you go back, you're like, oh yeah, 4 years ago I did stay here. Here's my video that is me talking about how much I loved it. Like, I need to book there again. So there's a lot of, I've thought about this a lot. So anyway, Ellen.
Okay, no, I like that.
We'll find you a shoe sponsor, a fig sponsor, and we'll get you vlogging. It sounds like we've had a pretty accomplished night here.
Yeah, I think so. I was just gonna say one more thing, and it's kind of personal.
The floor is yours.
But I figure since I have the floor, I don't know if anybody's noticed this Band-Aid on my face. It's on this side apparently. Sorry, I was looking at the monitor and I was like, wait. So I had a biopsy done on my face. I posted it on Facebook, and results came back yesterday when I talked to the doctor. It is early stages of skin cancer, but it is treatable. I don't remember the exact name. However, I do have to schedule another appointment to basically what they do is they're going to scrape layer by layer, and they're going to go until they call like they called it the margins are clear. So it's in-house, it's in an office, and it's like an outpatient procedure. So they numb the area, and they take samples, and they go down. And so if anybody can learn anything, like I'm not asking for like, a pity party or anything like that. That's not what this is about. I just sun protection, like wear sunscreen. We're disc golfers. We're out in the sun all the time. I was out in the sun even before I played disc golf, and I was like, I don't need a hat. Like I look good with a tan. Some people's skin is different than others, and this spot had been there for 10 years, and they, the military told me, here, we're going to freeze it off, and they froze it off twice, and then, here's some creams for it. And this dermatologist finally, after 10 years, was like, we should probably take a biopsy of that because it hasn't gone away. Oh, it turns out it's early stages of skin cancer. Like, get your skin checked out and, like, take care of yourself. You only get one. So, yes, I am fine. I'm okay. They're going to take care of it. My dad actually had kind of the same procedure done. But I just want to let people know my season might kind of change. I'm still waiting to get an appointment for it. But if it does change, it's probably because I have to come back to Florida to get this done. So wear your sunscreen, kids. I know nobody's going to remember that song from like, I don't even remember who sang, or it was just like that guy's like at the end, he's like, and he's like, wear your sunscreen. So
I don't know that.
What is he talking about?
Wow. Oh, no. Normally I at least catch on a little bit. I have no clue what that is. So.
We're gonna have to take it to the Googles.
1990s. Wear your sunscreen.
Okay. Well, that
and song.
Truly, Ellen, I know you're speaking to the world. You're obviously speaking directly to me as well, in the sense that I am very poor about doing it. I hate the way, whether it's bug spray or
Boslerman.
Whether it's bug spray or it's suntan or sunscreen, I hate the texture of it, and so I need to get over that and very much heed your advice. And people have thrown it at me, of course, for years, but you're 100% spot on, and that's something I need to take more serious myself. So
yeah,
I hear
even if you don't choose to wear sunscreen or whatever, at least if you have a funny spot that you've noticed and it doesn't go away, just go get it checked out. Like if you don't pay the extra money to just go get something checked out by a dermatologist, because it could become something serious. So so just take care of yourselves. You only get one body.
Yes. Well,
100% with you. I'm very much a hat person, and I'm as pasty as they come. So it's true. Yeah, that's how life goes.
I have fair skin. I totally understand.
That's a nice way of putting it. I just call myself pasty. So, well, we look forward. Hopefully we look forward to seeing you here in Wisconsin at the end of June.
Can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So just an hour away from where we are right now.
Yeah.
So.
It's going to be awesome. And I will see you in, I want to say 8 days, probably 8 days. Yeah, I will be down in Georgia, down there for our first major of the year. So I'm looking forward to that. I know our entire disc golf community is as well. And looking forward to 4 days of nonstop disc golf down there as well. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you out there walking around with your water jug, staying away from bogeys, and cashing in some long putts. Looking forward to all of it.
Yeah,
Ellen,
I will be.
Congrats this weekend. Congrats on everything you're doing and working on. And I think you continue to be a shining star for a lot of people who have dreams and aspirations of hitting the road, being a professional disc golfer, but maybe more so than all of that, or in addition to all of that, just living life to your fullest. And I think that radiates every single time we see or hear from you. And I know you want to protect yourself from the sunshine, but you are always sunshine to everyone's day. And we love and appreciate you.
Terry Miller. Thank you. That means a lot.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. As always, you're always welcome here. You don't need any special invites. If you ever have any projects or initiatives or anything you want to share, you're always welcome here. The debut of your new Airbnb blog, whatever, vlog. We're here for it. Cool. We'll help promote that as well. But looking forward to it. Again, we'll see you in 8 days. Ellen Widboom, your Throwdown the Mountain Open champion. Congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks, Ellen.
Bye.
See ya. Ellen Widboom. Love having her. second, third, fourth time, whatever it's been. We can never get enough of her. Thank you so much. As we said, for the 100th time, we'll reiterate. Staff, the crew, everybody at the Sun King operation, and then the volunteers and the people that go along with it. So incredible. And, one more time, I'll reiterate my time over at the Reader's House. Dwayne, Susan, so much fun. They really, everything she's saying about having a host and feeling welcomed is exactly how I feel over there. I think it's, for some reason, they've let me in there 4 or 5, maybe even 6 years now. And I've got my own room. I come and go as I need to, but they always have food available if I want it. And then I was roomed right next to Paul and Hannah for the weekend, which is also always a lot of fun. So thank you, Dwayne, Susan, little dog Sydney, who's growing on me. I'm not much of a dog guy, but all these dogs I'm seeing week in and week out are growing on me. So thank you to
everybody's
the
got
readers.
a travel pet these days, man.
That too. Lisa's got a travel cat. Kyle and Cynthia recently, not too long ago, also got themselves a little puppy. So, lots of animals out there on the tour, which is totally understandable. So thank you to all. Let's go over a few of the results here from this weekend. Read off the top few players.
So Throw Down the Mountain, as we talked about with FPO, we see Ellen Widboom. Thanks to Ellen for coming on. She won this weekend. She won by a total of 4 strokes over Lisa Fakis. Lisa shot a phenomenal second round to get back up into second place. Third place was a tie between one Hannah Macbeth. Congratulations, Hannah, shooting 7 over par total, 3 on the second round. Morgan Linz and Jordan Linz, sisters?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So the Linz sisters. Tied for 6th place was Pam Reinke.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll go with that. Terry, you probably know. And 6th place, Haley Child. So congratulations to the women who competed at Throw Down the Mountain. Let's talk about Open Men real quick. We already mentioned Hannah, so I guess we have to mention Paul. He wins. He won by a single stroke over Calvin Heimberg. Paul shot 22. Calvin shot a 21. Congratulations. Micah Groth shooting 14 under par. Shooting a pretty darn, I want to say, it's hard to justify or to judge it when you say it's a pretty darn good 8 down when the two of the top players in the world are shooting 10 and 11. But congratulations, Mike, on shooting 8 down. Thomas Gilbert in 4th place at 13 under. And tied for 5th was Alex Russell and William Hanu. So those were your top MPO players for Throw Down the Mountain. And you can catch all that footage on the Disc Golf Guy channel. Please go in, tune in, give them a view or two. Turn off your ad blockers. Join the cult. Send them cash. PayPal. Terry at prodiscgolfer.com. I don't know what you're doing. So either way, go check out the results at on YouTube right there. Sorry about that. And let's go ahead and talk about our Silver Series event that we had this past weekend, which was the Music City Open. It was in Tennessee, so you know who won. Pretty simple about that. Chris Dickerson wins in Tennessee. That's all you need to say. Second place, Adam Hammes from Wisconsin here. Shot 3 strokes less than Chris Dickerson. In third place.
3 strokes more, I think.
Well, the result was less than better. But yes.
Okay.
However you want to phrase it. It was 3 strokes worse than Chris Dickerson. Lori Lettinen, third, who shot a 12 under final round to jump himself up. A phenomenal 3 pars, a double bogey, and the rest were birdies.
Dang.
So he had himself a heck of a round. I think there is no score for Nico on 18 because I think he's still putting.
Oh. Time clock violation burn.
Yes.
So timely.
So timely. 4th place was Nico LaCastro. 5th place, Ezra Aderhold. 6th place, Alden Harris. 7th place, Double G. And tied for 8th, Jake Mon and Joel Freeman. So congratulations to those men. Let's talk about the FPO field getting her first win of the year, Silver Series. winning by 4 strokes over Cat March was Missy Gannon. Congratulations, Missy. It was a great Discraft week if you're keeping track of team scores. Cat March takes second place. Third place, Macy Veladiaz. I think Macy, this isn't going on a limb here, but
I think she's going to be good. Say it.
I think she's going to finish top 3 at an Elite Series.
Oh, yeah.
This year.
I think that's a given.
Yeah.
I mean, that is not a hot take.
No, it's not.
By any means.
Everybody, you can see how well she's playing, and Macy is, and obviously this is a Silver Series, but I think she's going to make that jump to Elite Series the way she's been playing.
Yeah.
So congratulations, Macy. Fourth place, Deanne Carey, Holly Finley, Hannah Blomroos. Congratulations to all you. Seventh, Natalie Ryan. Eighth, Emily Beach. That final round.
Holy cow, I'm just looking at the scores
Yeah.
for the first time now. And also, I think she had a birthday yesterday or the day before, but go on.
Happy birthday, Emily. I did get to watch, I watched the FPO final round. I did not get a chance to watch the MPO. I was busy with family stuff, but they kept showing Emily's scorecard because, she was just kicking some ass and shot a 7 down on the first 8 holes.
Dang.
Yeah. She was killing it. So congratulations, Emily. Jessica Weiss, 9th. Rebecca Cox and Evelina Salonen for 10th. So those are your results for your Music City Open at Millridge Park.
Awesome.
Yay!
Well, nice work, everyone. This was a really unique weekend in the sense that you nor I really had any personal involvement with the Disc Golf Pro Tour happenings. I mean, if really that's the best way to word it.
Mm-hmm.
I, of course, being in Florida doing Throw It on the Mountain, which I've been to quite a few times, and you not directing the show and switching the show from the live capacity. Instead, someone else was doing that. It's very rare that you nor I have anything to do with a Disc Golf Pro Tour event that's taking place.
I jokingly
Did they fire us?
Not yet.
That we know of.
Not yet. Well, sit tight.
I'll check my email.
No, don't check it. Then just show up and keep billing them. No, I made the analogy to the guys in the control room this weekend when I hopped on just to make sure everything was okay. That last year when I handed over the reins to Ian, I felt like I was like giving my baby to a babysitter for the first time because I literally kind of sat behind them and watched them do it. This week, this is the first event that I wasn't involved in this year. I kind of felt like we're much more evolved. We have a lot bigger team. The events are set behind the scenes, technology-wise, that I more or less kind of felt like I was giving my 16-year-old the keys to the car for the first time. Like, everything's matured. It's a lot harder to make mistakes. The guys know what they're doing. They don't need us nearly as much to do a lot of what they're doing. They still need us a little bit. Don't think about getting rid of us yet. But yes, handing the keys off to the guys, and Gary, who produced the show, did a great job from what I could see. And Mo did graphics. Everyone was mixing up stuff. Tosi continued to do assets, and we had a different director who'd never done it before. So that's the nice thing about the Silver Series is getting to, and it's going to be the same with this upcoming weekend. I will have nothing to do with the next Silver Series at Tennessee not in Tennessee, at Tallahassee. I won't have anything to do with that one either. So it's kind of nice just handing it off and being like, cool, I'll catch you at the big events. So it's great. We're doing some great things. Yeah, and
without getting into the drama, because largely, again, we didn't have front row seats or personal interaction with it, but it sounded as if one of the big conversation pieces that came out of this weekend specifically, and I know, unfortunately, this is not new. It sounds as if there was a question of Nico's time and the time in which he took. Is that?
Have you seen the picture
of Ezra looking at his watch?
The disc golf picture from the weekend. Ezra checking his watch on the tee while Nico stands on the tee. Nico, slow. We all know. Jeff Spring literally warned him on hole 5.
Okay. Final round?
I believe it was the final round, yes.
Okay.
Warned him about his time violation, which didn't appear to phase him or change him or do anything.
Okay.
From my understanding, he continued to take that amount of time. If maybe he cut 5 seconds off, but when you're going 55 seconds and you go to 50 seconds, I don't know if anyone notices. So yes, that was a big point of contention. A lot of the message boards, a lot of Facebook and stuff just screaming that we need to do something, that something needs to be done, that officials need to show up, anything that we've talked about over the last 5 years regarding time violations. It's all been rehashed. Everybody has an idea and everybody has a solution. I don't know what the right ones or the wrong ones are. So it's
So just and this is in 100% ignorance, believe it or not. Since I know nothing other than what you've just said, and that was essentially what I kind of already knew for the most part. I'd love to know: is it the putting? Is it drive? It's usually putting, but is it putting? Is it driving? Is it preparing for shots? Are there any potential distractions? Like
that doesn't matter.
I know. I'm
just
trying to contextualize the situation in general. I'm not trying to.
It was everything. My understanding was on the tee he was taking extra time. There was a sequence that Charlie was talking about today that Nico got off in the woods, and I understand 30 seconds, but I am a little bit more lenient if your lie is very difficult to get to. If you
have a once in a round challenging lie, yes.
Correct. You have
right or wrong. Yes, there's usually leniency for that.
I have no problem if everybody kind of looks the other way if it takes you 45 seconds on one throw to get into or under some bushes or get to your lie or whatever that may be. Apparently, there was one point where he had said that Nico went into the woods, took like 2+ minutes to throw, finally got it, hit a tree 15 to 20 feet in front of him, and then took another 2 to 4 minutes, whatever, to throw. And it was like 4 minutes of just Nico, just sitting there trying to get out of the woods in some thick rough. I'm with everybody when I say something has to be done, but I'm also saying it has to be done by the players. You have to call him. I don't care how miserable he's going to make your life for the rest of that round. You have to call him. Like
that's part of our current rules.
That's part of the current rules.
You need to call those rules.
Or if you don't want to do it, call the TD. Literally have him walk over. I mean, TDs have usually better things to do, officials, things like that, but it has to start with the players. That's where it has to start. And because we're not at the opportunity or not at the point yet where we can have 6 or 8 course officials wandering around just waiting for problems to happen. And, the TD is busy doing a lot of other things. It has to start with the players right now. We're not big enough. We're not to the point yet where we have these other resources. It has to start with the players. And I know it's difficult. I know it is. Everybody wants to be the person that says, sure, I'd be the jerk and do it. No, very few people have stepped up and done it. I'll give, as much as I give him a hard time sometimes, I give props to Drew Gibson because he is kind of that guy. He has been pretty good about calling time violations over the last couple months, whether it was with Gannon Burr or Nico. Like, I give props to Drew Gibson for that, hands down.
Yeah, for sure. And somebody has to call it.
And if that's Drew, if you want to be that guy, Drew, you have my support.
Yeah, and I don't care who it is. It needs to. You're right. It needs to be called. And we can set him specifically Nico aside for a moment. Just think of when any slow person or someone that's habitually breaking the rule. Let's say they're on the third card. Now, in this case, they're on the final card of the day, presumably, so they're not necessarily slowing down other people. But when they're on the third card, and there's a whole card or an entire empty hole or 2 empty holes in front of them, and the third card is the place where the habitually slow person is, they're backing up everybody else on the first and second card on top of breaking the actual rule. Like, there is something to be said, and Disc Blaster wants to bring up a point about just overall slow play within the course or backups on the course. Unfortunately, I feel like, and I understand that argument that, well, who cares if someone's slow because they're waiting on the next hole anyway. That's you're circumventing the intent of the rule. The rules don't say, hey, here are our rules. Well, unless play is slow, if play is already slow, then you can go ahead and take as long as you want to throw. Like that defeats the entire that sidesteps the entire issue. You're still breaking a rule at that point. And so if you want to argue about flow of play, I get it. That sucks for everybody. But I don't think one group or set of people should be penalized and have to deal with someone that is habitually breaking a rule. And it is kind of funny to me that if somebody's always breaking a rule in so many other ways, we're more inclined to call them. But why is time specifically, why is that one so awkward for people to call? If somebody's clearly foot faulting every throw, if somebody's doing lots of other things illegally, it's pretty easy to call. Why is the timing one? And is it because you think it's subjective? And sure, we could argue, oh, that actually took 32 seconds. Well, I had him at 28. Okay, fine. When it's 45, 65, 95 seconds on a given throw, any given throw, that to me is pretty obvious. So I don't understand it. I've never understood it. And I know there's always a lot of hate and specific things thrown at Nico, and that's not what I'm trying to make this about. He happens to be the most regular offender. I'm not picking on him. He just, the world knows this though, and it's not personal in that sense. I say this of anyone. Step up and throw. Like, I had a great conversation about this very situation a year or two ago, and Nate Doss very much enlightened me after one of our shows about a pace and how golf does it, and what they anticipate for in a round, and how it gets played, and how warnings and how they do it in I'll call it regular golf, how they do it there. It's very different than how we do it. There's not necessarily a shot clock on a specific, hit or whatever in golf. To be fair, I think a lot of people would say the number one thing that they dislike about watching golf is how long it takes, but that's another story. But they go about it very differently. It's not an individual on one given swing, on one given stroke and all of that. I get that. But our rules right now set up the way they are, and I feel like they're very easy to follow and to administer. And why this is still a problem. This has been a conversation piece as long as we've been broadcasting.
Yeah, like I jokingly said earlier in the broadcast, at one point I put a 30-second clock on him live on one of our broadcasts. I wish I knew when it was. I would pull up the footage, and just as a joke, because back then we could get away with doing fun stuff like that. But it has been an issue for a long time. And Cody on the board is saying, and I've heard other people say this, so it's not just Cody, that it's not the other players' jobs to police him.
Wrong. It is.
And unfortunately,
it literally is. I will find you the rule and read it to you and the world.
We don't need that. I mean, you can, but
I will.
But it just like it's the other players' jobs to watch for foot faults. It's the other players' jobs to watch where someone is throwing. It is your job to help look for a disc if it's lost. It's part of the 2-minute rule. Like, it's not a team sport, but unfortunately it's you need to kind of act like a team card for these things. So it is, and I understand that some players want to just focus on their game and not have to think about other people's game, but it's part of the game to do that. That's all part of the game. Like, it's that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a crazy part of the game either. And under PDJ Rule 812...
You may disagree with the rule.
That's
but
fine.
The rule is there.
The rule's still there. I disagree that you should be able to go 75 when it says 70 or whatever. I get it. But under 812, under courtesy, Section B, it says a player must perform actions expected by the rules, including A, helping find a lost disc, B, moving equipment when asked, and C, keeping score properly. And then subsection .2 is Watch the other members of the group throw in order to ensure rules compliance and to help find discs. Like, you are to watch other people play.
There are people who dislike keeping score. Too bad. Here, it's your turn to keep the card. You can't. That player is not allowed to just drop the card and be like, "Sorry, guys, not my thing." I don't like knowing the scores, so I'm not going to do that. You don't have that option. It's just not right now. That is not a valid excuse or response. So it's. And again, some people don't mind it, or I'll say this. Some pros don't mind that Nico takes a lot of time.
Sure.
Just because they think that the longer he takes, the less likely he is to hit it, and whatever.
That's still, in a sense, though, it's circumventing the rule in the sense that, like, why should others be punished because somebody else doesn't want to play by the rules? Why should one person or any given person get 4 minutes to throw a disc when everybody else is expected to do it within a time frame? Yeah. You might not be...
People complain about backups that it like throws their flow off. Like, oh God, I was waiting here for like 15 minutes because whatever. Somebody got on hole 12 at Northwood, someone threw into the woods and it took them, 12 throws to get back into the fairway. And so it created this huge backup. And I don't like having a backup because I play better when I'm in the flow. Nico's wrecking that for everybody. Everybody on that card has to wait extra time for him to throw. And it wrecks their flow as opposed to getting up and just keep going. It is something, again, I personally think, based on what happened this weekend with Jeff Spring warning him, that this is kind of a signal that maybe it's going to start to be taken more seriously. Whether that's... I don't think there's anything by the players that it's going to be, but maybe the Pro Tour will help with that and step up a little bit. And I don't think it's their job. It does help them. It helps us in the broadcast room. You wouldn't obviously if you watch post-production, they cut out, as Terry has done in the past, you cut out a bunch of that Nico stuff. You only show the last 5 seconds of it most of the time. We've done the same in live too, where we'll go to other throws just
to fill the time
between when we know Nico is going to throw, because we know we have 40 seconds to 50 seconds. We can get in 2, maybe 3 other shots before we come to Nico and watch his throw. Or if he happens to be making a run, we have another camera on him, we'll trim up all that stuff and only show you like what the post-production does. So, but it is advantageous for everybody to make this a much more cohesive environment and help out with the flow and the broadcast and this and that. So I'm hoping the Pro Tour is kind of looking at this, and maybe this is kind of them. This is maybe Jeff dipping his toe into that water to see how it's going to go. And again, that's why we have Silver Series, to test things out. We're going to test calling the rules out for once.
Again, I know.
Tale as old as time. That's the story.
Yeah, there's a lot of time. So, and somebody on the board, Carney, I think, is saying that there's, whether it's other MPO or FPO players. As a guy who films, therefore, I literally have a running clock when I'm watching you play disc golf. Often, whenever I'm doing post production, I know exactly how long you take. I also know how you're wasting time. Are you putting your bag 27 feet away from your lie, and then you have to walk back and forth to your bag 4 times, or your cart, or you have to then go get a different disc or do whatever you're going to do? Let's start there. Put your equipment near you. I don't need you to sit on it or kneel on your bag. I don't need it to be on your back while you're trying to pick your disc. Put it near you. I find that to be one of the most frustrating things to see any level of disc golfer, MPO, FPO, or any level of disc golfer. I will never understand why some people will take their bag and they'll set it somewhere and then they'll walk 20 feet to where their lie is. If you've got your disc and you're not going to change it up ever, fine. But you know how many times I watch people walk back and forth? And for the last time, for at least this week, I'm going to tell you, your effing 30 seconds and your time when you have to throw includes you bushnelling. and I don't mean to use Bushnell's name in vain here.
No, you're using it as a verb.
I know.
You're Bushnelling.
Your range finding. For God's sakes, people, use your rangefinder from the other person's lie, maybe, because you're 9 feet behind it, and then do some subtraction. And I get fired up about this because this is so simple. I understand when there's intricacies. I understand when you have a goofy line. I get special scenarios or special cases. But you know how many times I watch somebody that's got a 250-foot shot in front of them. The person that threw just before them is 10 feet behind that, but then they still have to get up when it's their turn to throw, and then they range find. You could have done that, and you should have done that, because now you just spent all your time doing that, then you're putting it away nicely, then you're making 2 trips back to your bag, and then you're finally grabbing your disc and throwing. I hate that I jump on this soapbox. I'm a big boy. I'm going to crush it one of these days. Like, seriously, manage your time. Just, it's not that tough. And this is at every level of disc golf. I've seen this, from your amateurs who maybe don't know better yet to our top level professionals. That's it. Till next week, when you all tick me off again for doing the same thing. Oh, gosh, people, it's not tough.
All right, so that we MCO is covered. Everything is covered in that.
Next week, Tallahassee.
Tallahassee.
Silver Series. You can win some cool stuff. I did talk to the tournament director. They've got literally like tens of thousands of dollars worth of stuff that can be won on aces and all sorts of other things they have going on. So I guarantee you our players are going to be treated well. And I'm guessing, because I saw the course a few years ago, and it's now trimmed to 18 for this event, I think it's going to be a pretty darn good operation that they have going on. So best of luck to everybody that's going to be in Tallahassee. However,
a lot of players are skipping it.
I was just going to say that.
Just because we have the major the week after that, a few hundred miles away, and they want to prep for playing W.R. Jackson, which is no joke, of course. So you're seeing a lot of players skip Tallahassee. Even, again, don't be shocked if some of the players that are registered don't necessarily show up and play.
Unfortunately for Tallahassee and their fans, this is continuing to be a growing, I don't want to say trend, but this is, it's very real that, as you're saying, a lot of people are skipping this upcoming weekend. And to echo what you're saying, there's people that are on the reg list that we all but know are truly actually not even going to be still coming to Tallahassee. And clearly it's no knock on the event, because it's going to be phenomenal. It's really more about the timing. So best of luck to everyone. The question is, who steps up? Who takes advantage of that and says, well, okay, that's fine. Paul and Rick might not be here, or Eagle might not be here, but I'm going to step up and somebody's got to win. The question is who. We rarely look ahead and think about that, but who's on that list there, Johnny?
Let's open up the Tallahassee registration list, and you can see number 1 with a bullet, Matt Oram, 1044 rated. Number 2 on our registration list, Gannon Burr, followed by Nicola Castro, Mason Ford, Cameron Colglazer, Double G. I go Double G. What's Thomas Gilbert's? What's a good nickname for Thomas Gilbert?
He's got a couple of them.
Does he? A lot of people call him Waldo. Where's Waldo? Because he's been popping up in footage everywhere.
I've heard T. Gilly. I think Mo says that often. I confirmed with him this weekend with Tom. It's Gilbert.
It sounds weird to call him Tom.
I know it did. I confirmed with Thomas that he's okay with Tomcat as well.
Tomcat. All right, I'll give him Tomcat.
I said, where does that come from? And he says, I think he said that it might have even been Ian from Central Coast that gave him that, because that doesn't sound like one maybe he had it earlier. I don't know how he doesn't have that one earlier in life as well. But either way,
all right.
I referenced him once as Tomcat this weekend, so I'll go with that.
So we'll start again. Double G, Tomcat, Chandler Fry. I want to call him like...
Chanimal?
That's
his.
That's not what I want to call him.
Okay, so you should
I'm
definitely.
I'm thinking of like a
repurpose
McDonald's
his nickname.
No, I'm thinking like a McDonald's. Because for some reason, like, who's the fry guy?
Not Grimace.
No, Grimace is the big purple guy. I don't know. Anyway, Chandler Fry, Colt Montgomery, Emerson Keith. So who could take this one down? I think the obvious answer right now is Matty O. But
going on a limb via ratings.
I mean, it's his neck of the woods. You know, he's only, again, a couple hundred miles from where he grew up, probably between Alabama and Tallahassee, and he's the highest rated player. He's been playing very well. So ultimately, I it's not hard to pick Matty O. The interesting part, as someone mentions, is are we going to see Gannon Burr and Nico on the same card? Is anyone going to run out of batteries that day? So I have to go with Matty O taking advantage of the Silver Series opportunity for him.
Okay.
And then
FPO side.
Talking about the Open Women's Division, you've got Sarah Hokum, Valerie Mondahano, Kona Star Panis, Jay Weezy, Lisa Fakis, and Alexis Mondahano. Holly Finley as well. Holly Finley played pretty well this past weekend. Now, Terry, is the course open? I know it's a slightly different course.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how they've configured the 18 holes, but I'm going to say it's definitely not open.
Okay, so
is not how I would describe it.
If we're leaning a little more wooded, you kind of have to put Sarah Hokum in that category. She plays very well on these tighter courses, if that's what this is. Valerie Mondahano has been having a great year so far, so ultimately, we could see that happen. Kona has been, she hasn't really performed.
I pick Ellen Widboom, not just because she was a guest tonight. Ellen, I know you're watching.
She is for sure. Ellen could have a great weekend and win, of course. Kat Murch has been shooting really well this year. Maria Oliva, for the most part, has played well. She did not play well this past weekend, but everybody has their off weeks. I think this is a Kona weekend. I know she's had some struggles, but I think this is the weekend that Kona is able to put it together. And it's no shade on Kona, but we're not seeing the top 3 or 4 women at this event. So I think this is a good chance for Kona to kind of get her stuff together and win. So I'm going to pick Kona this weekend to win.
Okay. I like it. Well, again, looking forward to it. In talking to a number of players, I guess I'll say specifically.
You're going to tell me Kona's not playing now?
No.
Good
no,
guess.
I was just thinking of a conversation with the Macbeths from this last weekend about just the madness that is Masters Week, and knowing that Augusta is 30 minutes from Appling and from where the major is taking place next week. Everything's just obviously pure madness and pandemonium around the Augusta area. So it's interesting that you have players maybe just either taking a weekend off and completely unwinding or relaxing, or maybe playing a few practice rounds or almost doing nothing in their respective areas. I know I saw Brody Smith and a couple other people that had headed up to Appling, and of course there's going to be players that are already there, and they can do their best to stay away from anything Masters related just in terms of separation, but just the whole world, the whole sports world is taking over Augusta
Georgia,
right now.
Augusta,
and so, I just think about, let's put it this way. None of our players are probably in Augusta or the Appling area and have booked themselves hotel rooms or found a way to get an Airbnb just simply because they're not available. We might have a few people camping, and maybe there's a few hotels at great length away, but right now the entire world is in Augusta and completely takes over that town. So I think it's just this thing that we have to wait essentially until Sunday or Sunday night or Monday morning or whatever, and then we'll see more of our pros roll into Appling due to the proximity.
And I know a few of them are actually. Drew had made a comment how he's going to final day of the Masters.
Yeah, I mean,
so
if you're at that level, yeah, that's a whole nother story.
I mean, if rolling like that,
so that's awesome. Real quick, to go back to Throw It on the Mountain just for a brief moment. On the feature card, one of 2 feature cards, let me be clear on that, for the opening day, opening round, none other than David Wiggins. And
how is Wiggins?
Oh my gosh. Of course, he's great. He's always been a very stand-up human and individual, so polite, kind, gracious, awesome to talk to.
Another member of our armed forces, right? He was in the Navy?
No, he studied ship stuff, Navy stuff. I don't know if that was because he was did he actually serve? Now I feel silly that I don't know for sure. That sounds right, but I don't. I know he's created a business around ships, but I don't know if it's from actually serving in the Navy.
Okay, I thought he had, but
I know would make sense.
Totally could be wrong there. Yeah.
I feel silly that I don't know.
Maybe that's where I'm confusing it.
University. He went to school down in New Orleans.
Yep.
And then he has started his own surveying and works on and with ships and all sorts of other things. I don't know if he actually.
And maybe he didn't. Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else. But
well, you might just be associating his Navy life along his Marine life along
his
with
Marine
being
life
in
with
the
Navy life.
Yes. Either way, I guess my main takeaway is crazy to think how much the world, of course, doesn't know him because he's been out of the scene for these last 4, 5, 6 years. He's been focusing on his college education and then also starting this new job. And to think like he's won, I think he said five junior world championships, then an amateur world championships when he was rated like 10-10 or 10-20 at the time back in 2010. And then has had all these various world records and distance world records. And then you're filming him, and I have all of this history of seeing him competitively. And then to think, oh yeah, 92% of my viewership has no idea who this fella is.
No.
And it's awesome. I mean,
how did he perform?
Spoiler, he struggled a little bit during the first round. I think he came back and had a really good second round. Unfortunately, he was a few cards back. But as he told me, he's like, I'm just knocking off rust.
Of course.
Is
his plan to get back into the sport?
Yeah, he wants to continue to start playing more. And I saw him a few weeks ago also when I kicked off my visit down south. I saw him playing in the Pot of Gold event down there in Louisiana.
So he's played 2 events. The rest should be off. What's his problem?
So he's playing a little bit more and more, but it's awesome to see him. Awesome to have him out there, and it's going to be great as more people continue, hopefully, to see and hear and learn more about him. And you want to take a guess at how old he is?
Well, if he won Am Worlds in 2010.
Yeah, Am Worlds, yep. Which you could be any age.
You could be any age, but he had already had a handful of Junior Worlds. I'm going to guess he was probably 17 at the time, so it's been 10. I bet you he's 29.
Yeah. 26.
Seriously?
That's exactly the reaction everyone else on the card had. Yeah, he's 26.
Gosh.
And to think obviously so many disc golfers haven't even found the sport yet, and here he is at 26, not just decorated.
The DG Beat nailed it right away. He's like 26.
Yeah, well, yeah, it may have been said in the coverage. You probably cheated.
Well, I didn't cheat because I don't watch your coverage.
Not funny, jerk. So anyway, David Wiggins, I guess the point is, go out, Google him. I hate that I have to even say that, but go out, Google him. He's on some of the discs you might throw, whether it was the Blizzard Boss or Wraiths or whatever else, or some Destroyers at one point. His name's on there for a reason. It's because he's a superstar and quite the stud, but it was great to see him and catch up with him. it also shows you a little bit of our it dates us a little because he's walking
Everything
up
dates us.
He's walking up to 400-foot tunnel shots with low ceilings and throwing a KC rock.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, this is crazy to think about where disc technology has come, who's throwing what, and he's got an old or brand new old 11-time KC rock and just doesn't even think twice about throwing a rock 400 feet on a frozen
He's trying
road.
to hawk that for like $150 somewhere, and everyone's like, dude, those don't sell for like that anymore.
So, yeah. That was my long-winded tangent there. David Wiggins, well worth the deep dive, as I know a few of you have now had to go out and do to learn more about him, and you should. Pretty incredible individual. And it will be great to see him. I believe, I don't want to spoil it all, but I believe there's something in the works that kind of is bringing him back into the spotlight in terms of a video production. So I think that's being worked on. And if so, you guys will then be in awe of what I'm talking about. All right, well, let's wrap things up on the regular show notes and the regular show and the after show. You guys already know it. We talk a little trash. We get on and off subject. So it's just like the regular show, except for we might swear once more. But we'll have a giveaway. We've got free stuff. I've got literally a stack of things that need to get mailed out now that I'm back at my residence for at least more than a few days, even though I leave in a week. We do have some stuff. Patreon discs, I think, actually just arrived, which, of course, I forgot to bring over. But we do have some Patreon discs. The actual annual Patreon discs have
for
arrived.
2021.
Whatever year.
Yeah, last year's Patreon discs.
They have arrived to my house. That's a little bit of a secret. But we'll get those signed, and we'll start to get those out sometime here soon as well. So thank you to our Patreon subscribers that jump in at that level. So we're going to close it out. We got to thank Ellen Widboom, your FPO champion of Throw Down the Mountain. I got to thank all our Throw Down the Mountain peeps and staff and crew. You've been incredible. Congrats to all the winners from this weekend, whether you're at an event that I covered at Throw Down the Mountain or you were at Music City Open or any other event anywhere else in the world. Congrats if you did well. Heck, even if you got to get out and play. I hope you realize you're fortunate. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been Smashbox TV Podcast 397. Stick around. We're going to have giveaways and other fun stuff in the after show. We'll see you then. You step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashboxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's Podcast 397's After Show.
Someone should do and when I say someone should, I mean no one should, just do a master mix cut of just like an hour of us doing that from all of the episodes. I'd have to go back and look at when we started that.
Oh, man. That is a good question.
I don't know. That's a great question.
Sorry, I'm just getting caught up. I surprisingly made a post or two just before we went live with the regular show and then didn't pay any attention to anything else that was coming in. But big shout out, Mike Barnett, I think, out there taking in some of the action. We just had our FPO champion on the show a few minutes ago in Ellen Widboom. Also popping up on my feed is Kelvin Heimberg and him getting sprayed with Pringles, sprayed with Pringles, because that was the, as they say, the wild celebration after he had taken it down at the Hall of Fame Classic in 2019, the last time we saw a big PDGA major take place over there. So, yeah, I'm going to echo, or I'll share or echo what, I think share is a better word. Damn near everyone is excited and likes the W.R. Jackson course. There was one person who dissented and really said they absolutely disagree, and I don't know if I remember or want to mention who it was, but it feels like it's 99.5% are in favor of the W.R. Jackson course. And rarely do I feel like you have such an agreement, right?
Very rarely. I know, didn't Yuli say that he had done some work on this course as well? It's a little bit altered from what we saw in the past, maybe a little cleaner here and there, but ultimately I'm excited to see W.R. Jackson on camera. Yeah. It's never been live before. We've never been able to be live there before, so I'm very curious as to how the live broadcast is going to work out in general. But in the past, the cell signal has just not been adequate enough. But now we've got new equipment, and it's years since we've even tried to go there. So we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, and a little quick behind the scenes is Steve Dodge and a number of us had run various tests out at the International Disc Golf Center years ago, and it simply did not provide or have strong enough signal for us to be able to have live broadcasting out there. So the World Championships back in 2017 couldn't be broadcast live from there for that exact reason. And that was the one Worlds that we haven't had live in the last 8-9 years that was played, obviously, that we couldn't have live due to that exact reason. So as you mentioned, with a significant investment in upgraded equipment, as far as we know of, we would expect that we're going to have good signal and then have good live coverage to be able to provide. So certainly a step in the right direction, and just an overall advancement to be able to offer live disc golf out there at the Jackson course. So very much looking forward to that.
But as Tim reminds us, that was our one of our best interviews after that night
yes.
with Ricky that night in the hotel.
It most certainly was. And for those that don't remember, right after the World Championships that concluded on a Saturday, Ricky Wysocki was actually staying at the same hotel as we were, which I believe was probably like the Home 2 Suites.
Home 2 Suites, it was.
In Grovetown, Georgia, right near, just south of Appling, just west of Augusta. And I remember seeing Ricky that morning, the morning of the World Championships, the final day, and him talking about not being able to sleep and all the challenges that he had and the anticipation and the excitement and everything else that he had within. And then he went out, won the World Championships, of course, and then that night he actually came over to our hotel room. We had a very similar setup, and of course we went ahead and had a very special, unique immediately after Worlds podcast, which is really something we've never really done before. And it was a Saturday night, but yeah, and shocker, everyone, Ricky was pretty candid with anything and everything.
Yes.
And it was an awesome moment. It was great to have him for it. So
Ray's asking about drone coverage, if W.R. Jackson is far enough away from the military base, because I know in the past they haven't, at least at the military base, you were not able to do drone coverage.
Yeah.
I would guess we're going to see drones at the IDGC.
Yeah, what I'll say to that, again, the little bit I know, I've flown my own drone. I have flown my own drone there at one point, and
you're still
I don't remember it getting shot down. So I don't think that's necessarily going to be an issue in terms of the legality of it. And even if so, usually now we're at a point where we have a licensed 107 series 107 pilot that is capable of flying, and then with certain provisions it can be done. However, this course out there at the IDGC, I do not believe is going to be close enough to any base that would be an issue. The real question, though, is how well will you be able to see stuff going on?
Ugh.
Because the W.R. Jackson course is a far cry from Music City. It's a far cry from, half or most of the holes that you saw at Tyler, Texas. It is a largely mainly wooded course. So not to say we couldn't have beautiful aerials and some really good scenic shots that kind of set things up, but in terms of seeing golfers traverse down a fairway or throwing mid-throw,
live drone shots,
yeah.
I don't think we're going to see many of them, to be honest. I would be a little surprised if depending on how much we use the drone with as heavily wooded as that one is. I was thinking just drone hole previews of anything. But yes,
yeah.
But live drone shots, yeah, I don't know how much you're going to see of that. I guess it depends on what the view looks like above.
Where the drone flies?
Where the drone flies, yes. Instead, what we sometimes will bring in is our gimbal camera. So more of like a steady cam, so we can kind of do some walking shots with things and get more player reaction, hopefully behind the tee as players walk away. Just shove a camera in their face. Every player loves that.
Yeah,
shove a camera right in their face. So that's probably more what we're looking at for IDGC. But I've not gotten the breakdown yet of cameras versus what's going to happen. So that'll probably be next Monday. I'll get that.
Okay. So, yes, looking forward to it. Someone asked who's in the booth. I know I'm not. And so generally speaking, if I'm not, that probably means that we have a combination of Ian, Philo, and then I think Elaine for this one. I think it's Ian, Philo, and Elaine. There's probably a click or two that I could make. I don't know if that's I doubt that's supposed to be a secret. If it is, don't tell anyone that I told you. But I will do a quick look. And looking at Champions Cup, Ian, Philo, and Elaine. As I mentioned, that means out there in the field, you will have myself, me, on course, press conference, interviews. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be me. And this is, of course, a PDGA major. There's also going to be the presence of probably Hayden Henry, Matt Rothstein from the PDGA, along with Hayden, Grant Zellner. I'm guessing you're going to see or hear from some of those people and maybe even others on top of it locally. But, yeah, I will be there out in the field. What do you want to hear from me in the field?
Nothing.
Hey, guys, it's pretty quiet out here. Back to you guys in the booth.
We'll see how cell coverage is. So you might have yourself an easier day. You never know if cell coverage is not great for phones, then that's where your sideline reporting stuff usually comes from, and we'll have to take it as we figure it out. Cody asks if Starlink is an option for live broadcasting. Not currently. For a couple of reasons. One, they geo-restrict your dish, my understanding is. So if you register a dish for your house, it has to stay within X amount of miles of your house. You can't right now just move that. I know they're looking at removing that restriction, or maybe they already have, but I think they're going to. But there is also a pretty decent latency. I mean, it's obviously internet. If you're a gamer, you understand it's not just your internet speed, but it's also your latency that matters. How quickly you can transfer some of that stuff, and it's the latency on that is kind of mediocre. I know there's some people doing tests with Starlink that are either kind of bonding it like we do to other systems, but right now it's not a great option. And those dishes are pretty stationary, so you would have to bring it down and set up a Wi-Fi router in a bunch of different places. They're not going to be useful for cameramen. So, and the cameras are really, as we've talked about in the past, the cameras are really the ones that you need to get the signal from the camera to the control room, wherever that control room is, if it's a quarter mile away or if it's 1,000 miles away. That's the big thing. And for us, it's got to be some sort of cellular or Wi-Fi if you can find a way to wire an entire course. But we haven't figured that out yet.
If you had to just take a guess, and I know this is all pie in the sky, when, if ever, in our lifetime, do you think we will in fact be relying on a different technology that's not cellular, whether that's a 5G or a 9G or whatever? When do you think that, because just to be clear, and I want to set this up, if somebody tells us there's really good Wi-Fi at the IDGC, we'll use that as an example. Let's just say the Wi-Fi at the IDGC is amazing. The Wi-Fi at that building and the 28 feet around it or whatever it is, no matter how good it is, even if it's 1,000 up and 1,000 down in terms of megabits per second, doesn't do us any good. Even right now, with the way our technology is, even if the entire course was Wi-Fi'd, we couldn't swiftly and easily connect to that, could we?
Yeah.
We could now.
We can. The devices that the guys carry do have obviously cellular, but they also have Ethernet and Wi-Fi on them. So you could put it on Wi-Fi, bond it with the cellular as a backup, and then weight it on the Wi-Fi signal. Say, hey, I would primarily like to use this for like 90% of my signal, and use this cell phone. So if an entire course was covered in Wi-Fi, that would actually be useful for us.
Now, but that's only been an advantage, and of course, there's all sorts of nuances and details to that. But rewind, how many years ago before that didn't matter? Was that 1 year ago to us? 2 years ago?
No, probably about since we had the live view unit. So I'd say about 3 years. It's been about 3 years, and those devices, because we actually did use that 1 year at Maple Hill up in the SAP house. We connected one of those live views up to the Wi-Fi there, and that was even the SAP house even had mediocre Wi-Fi.
Sure,
but yes, it was. We have been able to use Wi-Fi, but again, it would be virtually impossible to Wi-Fi an entire course or forest, as that course is.
Yeah, that would then carry adequate signal. That all the individual Wi-Fi boosters or repeaters and all that other whatever needs to be out there would all need to be powered. Would all need to be connected, everything else. Is it possible? Absolutely.
It's a nightmare scenario, but yeah.
But it also sounds like a nightmare. So, just to throw that out there, I know a lot of people have said that throughout the years.
Yep. And that's, so again, when you see it on the internet, like, why don't they get a satellite truck or a satellite dish? That's never the issue. It's the cameras. The satellite truck is where all the production people sit, like me, that's pushing buttons. It's the guys out on the course busting their ass with the cameras that need the signal. So
yeah. So anyway, that's a little info and details. I actually it was pointed out on the board that by Tim. Thank you, Tim. You're right. I believe I'm actually carrying some 5G. It was installed with me. A shot I got at some point. Yeah, I'm a walking, rolling 5G tower. Actually, wow. I'm a rolling 5G tower as we speak.
Like Coolio rolls,
yes, exactly. All right. Ray says USDGC seems like it is the ideal course to attempt the alternate way of broadcast. To some regard, it would be, in the sense that it's relatively open. It's a somewhat or relatively closed / public private facility in the first place. Power could somewhat easily be given to the devices throughout. You're exactly right. If you were to have a test case place on a championship caliber course, that would be the one that you would probably first have a proof of concept out there, probably over any other course. Mm-hmm. I mean, your next best bet would be something like a Las Vegas, which has minimal tree coverage, that's also on a private facility, so on and so forth. Yeah. And they could power it throughout because it's on on the golf course.
Disc asks, why does golf hardwire the whole course with cables then? Why not just, for instance, use the same technology as us?
Oh, that's a no-brainer.
Yes, it's basically the higher quality signal. I mean, we've pointed out before, a camera records at anywhere from 20 to 50 meg per second, depending on what you're doing. Our cameras are pushing through at 5 meg per second. But if you hardwired them back to a satellite, back to a truck, then you can push that true broadcast quality. It would look as good as the post-production for something like that. And that is, 20, 30, whatever meg per second, 50 meg per second, which still gets compressed down to probably closer to 10 meg per second when it's all said and done. But yes, a lot of that is why they do it. And it costs them hundreds of thousands of dollars just to cable, just to wire the golf courses with everything that they need, from the fiber, miles and miles and miles of fiber runs to all the different drops. Usually there's a really good website that I tend to watch this time of year because of Final Four and the Masters. It's Sports Video Group. I think it's sportsvideo.org is what the website is. I've got it bookmarked. And they talk all about video production. And so usually they have kind of a general couple articles leading up to the Masters, like, oh, here's all the technology, cool new technology we're using, or that the NBC is using, or actually it's going to be CBS for the Masters. It always is. CBS is going to be using, they're implementing this and this and this. And so they kind of go through a lot of that. And because I'm a nerd, I keep track of that stuff. And so there's that. So if you're interested in that type of stuff, I think again, you can just look up Sports Video Group, but I think it's sportsvideo.org is the name of the website. So I'm sure that stuff is coming up.
Yeah, I mean, with an endless budget and all of the freedom in the world to do so, you'd love to have everything hardwired. I mean, that's always going to be a better solution than any kind of, over-the-air, broadcast or wireless solution. I mean, that's just a general statement. You would love to. It's just not practical with how disc golf is played and the budgets that we're currently operating within from a disc golf perspective. So yeah, anytime. And obviously that's just a generic statement. Anytime you can hardwire something versus doing it wirelessly, it's going to make for a better connection and or signal. Were you...
Oh, geez.
As we date ourselves yet again, did you ever have a cable box that had a wired remote to it? Did you ever have that at your household?
I don't recall. I don't know. I mean, I remember having cable back in the early 80s because I remember HBO. The theme, the HBO theme. I do remember that. I don't necessarily remember the remote with a cord though.
Yeah, I'm
not
looking
vividly,
for an image of one because I do remember that. I remember a cord that came off of a cable box, and that's how you change channels. I can't find it right now. But anyway, just thinking about, okay, is that maybe one instance where a wired, even that unit though, assuming the wire was good, it's still always going to be better to be wired versus wireless. No matter how good wireless technology gets, I don't think you can beat an actual wire. Anyway, anything else in the world of social media or disc golf news and information out there? I'll answer my own question and say April Fools came in this last week. Was there any... I was fully immersed in Throw It on the Mountain, which opened on Friday, the 1st. I paid very little attention to social media, and I know that sounds silly, but I really did not. Was there any social media hype or gotcha pranks?
I'll say I don't necessarily think there weren't any good pranks this year. I felt UDiscs changed the name on the website and everything to like UFROLF.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's fine. I mean, it is. I don't think it's like anything like oh my god, I can't believe this is so hilarious. It was a good, clever little thing. Innova did the whole polecat deal where they sold a polecat, a DX polecat for like $35, and then it turns out there was only 100 of them. When you bought it, and they shipped it to you this week, they actually did have a Halo polecat. Because they had a polecat with a little halo on the stamp in DX. And so that's everyone's like, oh, why would you charge $30 for a DX? Well, when you actually got it, you got a real true Halo polecat. So those are going for like $400 or $500 online right now.
Dang.
For a true Halo polecat. And then I saw Tyler Brickley updated the last year, which is probably my absolute favorite one that we've ever seen, the DGA hole.
Mm-hmm.
He updated it saying that the DGA hole was discontinued. So and that was just, I think he just posted that on like Reddit or social media or something. So those are the only ones that I saw that really stuck out to me. So yeah, I didn't see.
Okay. I again paid very little attention. I think as I was going to bed very late night, I saw the Ufrolf pop up, and knowing what the date was, I immediately, of course, I did not fall for it in that sense. I'm sure plenty of people did. Another one that was out there, Brody Smith. I don't know if it was started by him or if it was started by someone else, but we saw a 1020 disc that was put out there.
Well, I know
Did he start that though?
I think he did. I think he photoshopped that.
Okay.
It was like a year ago or so. He had released his 1,000 rated disc. It was a black zone, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a Foundation guy. I'm not sure. Anyway, and they went like gangbusters. And I think he even posted at some point like, "Hey, I'm not a big ratings guy. I don't really care about it, but this is something that I thought was kind of cool. I hit 1,000 in whatever under a year, I believe, if I remember correctly. And he sold. How many ever he sold of those? Well, he jokingly put on April Fool's his 1020 disc because he is a 1020 rated player now. He just got that upgrade. So, and there was a little bit of shade thrown jokingly, I think, from Paul Macbeth saying like, "Oh, I remember when I was 18," which I got a big kick out of and got a chuckle. And I made a comment along the lines of like, Paul Macbeth just murdered a man on Twitter, call the cops. Some good back and forth. There was some back and forth between Brody and Drew Gibson on, I think it was an April Fool's, just the social media stuff like that. It's, all in good fun. Brody said he's got thicker skin this year is what his deal was. He wanted to make sure that, some of the little jabs didn't get to him nearly as much as they used to.
Okay, well, I did think it was, pretty funny, and I think Macbeth's response was something along the lines of, I remember when I was 18 or something.
Reminds me of when I was 18.
And to think that anyone at the age of 18 reaching some of these milestones, and then obviously it goes on to be him thinking about how he had just played in Am Worlds a year or two before that and everything else, quite the accomplishment. So pretty cool to see.
There was an MVP one as well. That's right, Seth McDonald. I did watch that. MVP released a video of James Conrad and all their players, a bunch of their players saying about how scared they are of James Conrad and like how he's just a crazy guy, different on the course. And then they showed some videos of him like doing the James Conrad thing, like oh shucks, man, and like kind of kicking a rock or a stone or something. It was pretty good. And then at the end, they had all the bloopers from them filming it of the players not able to hold a straight face as they talk about how much of a monster James Conrad is, to the point where I think I even saw a comment from James's mom saying, "Yes, we're sorry MVP has to deal with him now," or something. That was relatively funny. Although I will say this, and maybe I'm an old man.
You are.
I'm a little over the whole that whole James Conrad meme.
One of
just how he is
loses his temper.
Like I literally saw a post today, a bearded man slapped another player, and then it was James Conrad giving somebody a high five. Like, okay, I get it. Every time, I don't need a 6 posts on social media every time James Conrad misses a shot, turns around and kind of go, oh
yeah,
I don't need that. Like, I'm hoping the MVP video, and I doubt it does, really kind of kills that. Like, that puts a nice bow on it. We're done. Let's find someone else to harp on.
I mean, we can recycle some bad jokes. I've been doing that for 20 years.
Oh God, more than that.
All right. Well, I clearly need to go back to April 1st and get caught up on a few of these things because I knew.
No, I just caught you up.
Okay,
Good.
never mind. Okay, then I guess I'm good. I got them all covered. Other big news today, if we're going to throw out a timestamp, I think it was just announced today as I'm reading a headline right now that says Tiger Woods confirms he plans to play at the Masters this weekend. So that'll be obviously his first return back and since his accident. So
hopefully he can get in. That the event's not full.
Yeah. What's his rating?
Yeah. Did he pre-reg for that?
Does he have a Masters card? Yeah, to be able to get in and maybe he gets preferred parking or whatnot. I have another side note to all of that too. A lot of you have been reaching out, and I really do genuinely appreciate it. Reaching out, trying to pick up some more My Disc in a Box shipping and mailers. I am down to my last couple of hundred at the moment. Yes, I have 5,000 more ordered, which isn't even a big order, but I have more of those coming in the next couple of days. So if you're patiently waiting, or I've told you that once I get home, I could get some more caught up. They are all on order. I'm going to have them in another day or two, and I'll continue to ship them out. The bad news is this will be the last time they're going to be able to remain at the same price that I started them at 5 or 6 years ago. I got yet another letter from the manufacturer saying, hey, sorry, our cardboard type stuff, all our supplies, blah, 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 all have gone up 11%, and we're passing that on to you, which is obviously understandable and fair.
And you're not going to eat that?
I have eaten, I want to say, I'd have to go back and do the math. I have to say I've eaten at least 5 or 6 price hikes. So for the first time ever, there will be a slight increase in you ordering boxes.
Capitalist pig.
I know. Well, the question is, right, how much money was I just raking in that I could continue to eat all these other hikes? Exactly. I mean, that's clearly the question I would be asking myself. But I do finally have to raise prices. So if you want any, this is the last batch that I'm going to be able to get them at. And then they're going to probably go up like $5. I mean,
per box? God, Terry, what is it even worth shipping anymore?
No, $5 per 100.
Oh, not per box.
No. So,
oh God.
I did want to seriously throw that out there though, because that's the terrible letter I received this week. Ray asked, Terry, is there a second disc box company I've seen advertised in videos? What's your opinion? I'll put
Those
it out there.
Those boxes are trash.
They are. They're not even
apart.
Cardboard. No, they're made out of
paper.
No, I don't know. I was gonna say something stupid. Dog skin. I don't know. They're like,
they're made out of the skin of children that they've kidnapped.
Exactly.
You are. If you support other box companies, you realize that you are supporting not only child labor, because they skin the children and then make the children make those boxes
first, and then.
Yeah, well, you have to make the boxes out of the skin. Yeah, they're skinless children. Oh my God. I don't know what box company you're speaking of, so I'm not going to mention any of my names. All I'm saying is that other box companies do this. Terry, skin-free boxes.
Yes.
He still has children make them. Skin-free, though. Yeah, your daughters are the ones that fold them. But no child was skinned in the making of Terry's boxes.
I don't think so. I'll put it out there because I'm not opposed to doing so. Mike Batka is actually a gentleman that I designed the boxes with, the original boxes with. That him and I have the exact same boxes. I'm not gonna lie, I hate it when I read somebody say, "Oh man, I really love his boxes," and just people don't know we have literally the same box. We designed and developed them together. So Mike Batka does offer boxes. He's a great guy. If you don't want to support me or my children or anything that I do in disc golf, you can go buy boxes from him and enjoy the podcast he doesn't make. Okay. So if you want to do all of that, please do. And then Miles Parkhill over at Paragon, also a great human and individual. He makes a different style of box, and I love Miles. Miles is listening, but Miles, I think your boxes are slightly inferior. I'll say that. His boxes have, no, they don't have any advantages. All right, if they did have an advantage, I'd point one out, but they don't. Other than he can customize a design onto them quicker and easier than I can because he owns a print shop business. But
Well, no, he has children paint those boxes.
yes, and using chemicals made from penguins.
Harmful to children. Those
Yes.
chemicals are harmful to children.
And to penguins.
Yeah, you would not believe the amount of penguins that he has gone through. Just
So-
for one box is at least 3 penguins.
So yes, Miles makes boxes. Again, they're actually a different
I
style.
love you, Miles.
I genuinely do prefer the style in which mine are made and what they provide for you. But if you want to support disc golf, I will tell you this. There was a lot of thought and energy and effort put into the design and what we have.
Yeah, I had to hear about it
what
for
we
like
offer.
months.
Yeah, exactly. Because inevitably though, a lot of people are like, yeah, dude. First of all, I just save boxes from Dynamic or whoever else ships me discs. Keep doing that.
Awesome.
Never stop doing that. I want you to recycle every single box you get a hold of. Great. That doesn't help you if you have 100 discs and you only have 4 boxes, though, and you're trying to sell 100 discs. My second point, if you go to some faceless, ridiculous monopoly like Uline or some other crappy Amazon provider, first of all, you're not supporting disc golf. But secondly, those boxes are inferior for a specific reason of the weight in which they're offered at. If you use the boxes that I produce, you're going to be able to ship discs cheaper every time you ship a disc. And that's by design, people.
And your boxes are known to cure cancer.
Yes, instead of cause it.
Yeah, correct.
Yes.
See, unfortunately, Ellen came in contact with one of those other boxes, bumped her right in the face.
Ouch.
But had she had your box,
When she was working for UPS.
she wouldn't have even need to go to a doctor.
No. All right. So, in all seriousness, though, you can buy boxes from Uline. I'm just going to tell you that every time you ship with those, they weigh more, and therefore you're going to pay more more for every single shipment that you make. I know this sounds silly, but I've done a lot of work and research into providing this product, and I know it just sounds like a cardboard box, but as someone who's shipped thousands and thousands of discs,
It adds up.
it not only does it add up, but there was a lot of actual real life experience that went into providing this product for people. So, and if you may hate my disc in a box as the play on the 2004 skit from Saturday Night Live, half of you are not even old enough to know the skit, so you're not that mad about it. And if you are mad about it, then I'm sorry you don't have a good sense of humor. I mean,
Speaking of Justin Timberlake, and
it's going to be May soon.
yeah. On April Fool's,
Uh-huh.
I sit down on the couch right before bed as we watch the news and usually turn on Jimmy Fallon. I'll catch the monologue and go to bed. That's my kind of routine.
Okay.
Fallon comes on, and there's Jimmy Kimmel on Jimmy Fallon. And I was like, what's going on? So I turned on Kimmel, and there's Fallon. They switched places for April Fool's. I thought it was kind of funny. I was like, oh, that's clever. You know, they've been planning it for a while. I thought it was fine. Then they bring out Justin Timberlake dressed up as Matt Damon on the Kimmel show. Because for those of you that know the whole spiel, Matt Damon never makes it on Kimmel, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, they were talking. They made a couple, dick in a box jokes, and Justin Timberlake's releasing a new album and all the other stuff. But I thought it was kind of funny. It did remind me of the old skit. So, yeah.
Yeah. I said many times that I have always thought that Justin Timberlake as an overall entertainer is top notch. I just think he's a very talented individual.
Oh, for sure.
Anyway. All right. I'm reading off the board. Is Winthrop going away as host of USDGC next 5 years? What's next?
No, they literally just signed a new agreement. Maybe Cody already knows this.
No. Yeah, as you just said,
Yeah.
didn't they just sign a 5-year deal?
I think they signed a 5-year deal with Winthrop.
Saying that they will be the host of the USDGC. And then after 5 years, it'll probably stay there. I'm just, if you're asking, like,
There's a good chance of that.
is it then assumed that they're going elsewhere after that? I wouldn't assume that. In fact, I would bet just the opposite, and I would say that they're likely staying there, but they had to sign an agreement for some amount of years, and so they arrived at 5. I don't. Again, it could be going somewhere else. Johnny and I certainly do not know that, but
if disc golf in the next 5 years continues its massive growth where we outgrow Winthrop, sure. I could see that happening. I don't, because you're going to need spots for spectators. You're going to need good cell signal. You're going to need all this other stuff. It could happen, but if I had to take a guess right now, in 6 years, it's at Winthrop.
Yeah. You want to bet on it?
No.
Would you bet on it? How much would you bet on it?
That in 6 years, we're at Winthrop. So after this 5-year agreement is up.
Yep.
Depending on the odds I got, I'd be willing to drop $103.
Oh, so you're covering the PayPal fees on the bet?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
I'd bet $100 that it's at Winthrop in 6 years.
Okay. I mean, I wouldn't take you on that. I would, because I would agree with you.
Okay.
So, okay.
I thought you were saying you would.
Debate night's over here.
If only it was that quick.
I guess we got that one all wrapped up and taken care of.
How great would that be if that was their debate night? Someone's like, I think this. The other guy's like, yeah, you're right. Next.
Okay.
All right. Let's give something away, Terry Miller.
Oh, my gosh. What to give away? That's a good debate. We got a lot of goodies, actually. I don't even know if I showed him on air or not, but Michael Barnett from Sun King did, in fact, give me a couple discs. If we didn't give them away last week, I've got at least one we could give away this week. Did I give one away? I don't remember. I don't think I did.
We gave away, didn't we give away the
disc member box?
No, we did one of those last week and the lucky disc.
Oh, okay. So then I think I have one more.
Okay. Yeah, so I think
Mike, sorry, you're on the hook for another disc now.
Sorry, Mike. So let's give something away. Again,
Sure.
If you want to be eligible for our giveaway, you can sign up to support us in this fine podcast, or a fine podcast.
I was going to say,
you can support
what fine podcast?
You can support any fine podcast at patreon.com/smashboxtv. Just let us know who we should give the money to. It comes to us.
We'll forward it on.
And we'll forward it on. Smashbox.com/Patreon. No, that's not it. Patreon.com/SmashboxTV. We support cancer-free boxes. Anyway,
we do.
We have 180 people eligible for our giveaway tonight. Terry Miller, what is the number we should draw?
We got to go number 1.
Our very
Ellen's first win at Throwdown the Mountain specifically. I think we go with the very first one pulled.
Okay, and they're sorted by order of Patreon sign up. So our very number 1, Andrew Clayson.
Andrew, still love you, buddy.
Still.
More than everyone else.
Yeah. All right. So our very first number, we're going to go with number 11. It's going to be an old schooler. An old schooler.
Love it.
Let's look at who this old schooler is. Okay,
old school Patreon supporter of us here at Smashbox. Love it.
Zach Pajic. Zach, who signed up for Patreon.
Oh my gosh, how old?
January 9th of 2017.
Dang.
Yeah. Congratulations, Zach. We'll get you that.
Thank you so much,
yep.
Zach. Appreciate it.
Yep. So
Zach's usually good for about 1 win per year, so he's right on pace.
You got it know. Our first 3, the top 3 were Andrew Clayson, Josh Graham, and Brian Cleary.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All of them.
The longest supporters.
Appreciate that. A couple other quick notes, since we're kind of randomly jumping around, which is what we always do. If you haven't watched it and you enjoy little Kelvin Heimberg, which I think almost everyone on the planet does, a little course preview video was recently released. Kelvin, along with Thomas Gilbert, Cody Larson, and Cole Wareheim, all went out, and they were going to give me kind of a course preview of the Throwdown the Mountain course. So they threw a bunch of shots, told us what they were trying to do, all of those other things. Turned out to be a little bit of trash talking and just a really good time. They did that on holes 1 through 9, and then of all people, Calvin was actively chanting and yelling for mixed or flip doubles. He wanted to then play flip doubles on the back 9. And so sure enough, those 4 individuals flipped for partners, and the back 9 holes at Throwdown the Mountain, this is with the original course, holes you won't see in the other coverage, they then played flip doubles, random draw doubles for the back 9. Again, a lot more fun, and all of that will be, the doubles portion will be released after the rest of the coverage has been released. But the front 9, that's all available and out there, and you can watch that. So
Ray's telling me that Zach's last name is pronounced Pajic, like magic. Pajic.
Not like
So
Pat Sajak.
No, not like Pat Sajak, but it's
Zach
magic.
Pajak.
Magic with a P, so like Mapic.
Yeah, I think you nailed it.
Yeah. Magip.
So we appreciate you, Zach.
Thanks, Ray. I appreciate it. Zach, thank you very much.
Seriously, yes, we very much appreciate it. Also, quick side note, I had a great conversation
No, you didn't.
Today.
Whoever the hell on the other end of that, I'm guessing when they tell their friend about this great conversation, it doesn't start like that. Some dude talked my ear off.
No, I had a great conversation. You've seen them supporting coverage over there on the GK Pro action. I also then had a great conversation with Swarm Digital Marketing today, and got caught up, saw where we might align, also saw, some of the services that they offer, and I just wanted to throw it out there, spoiling it, not spoiling it, that I'm looking forward to developing a relationship with those guys. They seem like they're doing really good work, and I had a great conversation with David, so looking forward. He was there at Throwdown the Mountain this weekend, so it was a great time to actually see one another, and then we carried out a conversation today, and looks like they're doing great work. You're going to hear more about what they do in upcoming video releases, but I wanted to throw that out there. We got some good stuff to help you guys out. All right, I don't really have much else.
Let's wrap this up.
I got
in a box.
Yes, I was just going to say I've got boxes to wrap stuff up in. Wrap up boxes. I don't know what I have to do, but we're going to wrap up the show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We wouldn't be, we'd probably still be here even if you weren't, but we do appreciate you guys joining us week in and week out. Or if you're listening to this on one of your favorite podcast apps, go out there. Please make sure you go ahead and give it a like or subscribe or a download and all those things. But most importantly, give it a little bit of a review so that it shows up better. Other people can find out what's going on in the world of disc golf, and we'll continue to spread our vicious lies and rumors through the rest of the disc golf community in the way we know best, right into those ears of yours. For Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, that has been Smashbox Podcast after show number 397. We look forward to seeing you. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.